Chapter 841. Leng Shiqi was preparing to directly participate in the competition of Tianyuan realm. With his current strength, it would be meaningless to fight with those in the oneness of heaven and men realm. It would be pure bullying. He was not afraid of exposing his strength. On the contrary, he just wanted to stand out and draw some people out. Banning arranged for Leng Shiqi and 9 leave to stay in an extremely luxurious room. Then, he left with a meaningful smile and tactfully left. In the end, Leng Shiqi specially said that he would not see any guests recently and no one was allowed to disturb him. The smile on Banning's face became wider. 9 leave picked up a fruit on the table and said while eating, "It seems that the Thunderfire dynasty attaches great importance to this all-spirits meeting." Since entering here, 9 leave had found a large number of masters, most of whom were young people. Leng Shiqi rolled his eyes and saw many acquaintances. Delta Origi also came. To his surprise, Delta Origi's cultivation had already reached the peak of Gang's spirit realm. She could try to break through to the oneness of heaven and men realm. He clearly remembered that when he went to the imperial capital to get the small chaos cave of 5 elements last time, Delta Origi was still at the late stage of Gang's spirit realm. It was only a year later that she reached the peak. Leng Shiqi took a closer look and found that Delta Origi's spiritual aura was mixed with a few traces of blood chi. He thought to himself, could it be that her blood shadow secret method has been perfected and thus she broke through a small realm? In addition to Delta Origi, several deputy directors of the Dark Thunder Guard and Wu Diao were also here. The people of the Discipline Commission were almost the same. Zhuge Puha and Di Chuan were also here. The 5 members of the elite society had actually gathered here. These people were all people with great potential. The Thunderfire dynasty also wanted to use the All-Spirits meeting as an opportunity to train them. What surprised Leng Shiqi the most was that there were 3 experts in the Tianyuan realm in the restaurant. 2 of them were very strange. He had never seen them before. The other one was very familiar. That was the expert of the Imperial Hall of Worship of the Thunderfire dynasty, who was also the old man of the elite club. Among the 2 strangers, one of them had a huge spiritual aura that was like a volcanic eruption, which made people dare not look directly at him. He must be at the top level of Sky Origin stage. This time, the Thunderflame dynasty was really going all out. They even sent someone at the peak of the Heavenly Origin stage. However, thinking about it, the chaos Zhuo had caused in the demonic Miasma mountain range had infuriated the ministers of the Thunderflame dynasty. Taking advantage of the all-spirits gathering, they sent a Sky Origin stage cultivator to the Northern Wei Kingdom to crush the Sky Origin stage cultivators. Since Zhuo, the head of the consecrated hall, was dead, how many more peak-level Sky Origin stage cultivators could the Northern Wei Empire send out? Seeing these people, Leng Shiqi did not take the initiative to look for them. He had more important things to do. Leng Shiqi turned his head and said to 9 leave, "The myriad spirit gathering will officially begin in 5 days. We have to use these few days to prepare everything." 9 leave understood, and said fiercely, "Let's go to the Blood Beast sect first. They're the ones who beat me up the most. It would be best if we can capture Xiepengyu. Xiepengyu is currently in the Wei capital. It won't be easy to kill him. Then let's lure him out. I believe you have a way." 9 leave winked at Leng Shiqi. Leng Shiqi pretended not to see. He opened the system map and saw that the Blood Beast sect was thousands of miles away from the Wei capital. Distance was nothing to him. He could teleport thousands of miles with his fate ability. Furthermore, he was omnipotent. It would only take him 2 to 4 hours to reach the Blood Beast sect. Then his figure flickered, and another Leng Shiqi appeared. "I'll leave an illusion here. If anything happens, contact me through the underworld at any time." 9 leave picked up another fruit and said, "I don't know what this is called, but it's quite tasty. Go on. With me here, what are you worried about?" Leng Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. "It's because it's you that I'm worried." He did not say anything and disappeared from the Wei capital in a tricolored light. Soon, Leng Shiqi saw the Blood Beast sect. It was a mountain range where he could smell the thick smell of blood from afar. He could also vaguely hear the roars of demon beasts. Leng Shiqi stopped and put on the clothes of the Emperor of Fengdu. He did not use any seals, but the vitality in his body was rapidly dissipating. In an instant, he was like a lifeless rock. Although he did not comprehend the power of the 5 elements in the year of seclusion, he was more proficient in the spells of the 5 elements. In particular, he had already grasped a trace of the law of earth, which belonged to the 5 elements. Now, even a mystic comprehending expert could not sense his aura. This was also the reason why he could generously give the Gu King to 9 leave. Then, Leng Shiqi sank into the ground and easily sneaked into the Blood Beast sect like a fish in water. The Blood Beast sect was worthy of being called one of the top sects in the Northern Wei Empire. They had tens of thousands of disciples, and these people were not just any random Tom, Dick, or Harry. They must have extraordinary talent to be qualified to enter the Blood Beast sect. Leng Shiqi summoned Zhuo Zhou's soul beast ghost. He was the sect master of the Blood Beast sect back then, so he was very familiar with this place. Tell me where the beast cesspool is. The beast cesspool was the place where the Blood Beast sect imprisoned a large number of demon beasts. The foundation of the Blood Beast sect was naturally the demon beasts. They were constantly capturing countless demon beasts from the northern wastelands. However, the captured demon beasts could not be directly refined. Instead, they had to be properly trained to make them more docile. Otherwise, those low-level disciples would not be able to control the demon beasts at all. Those demon beasts were imprisoned in the beast cesspool. The purpose of Leng Shiqi's trip was here. Now, more than half of the experts of the Blood Beast sect had gone to the Wei capital. Even the sect master, Situ Huanshu, and the great elder, Xia Pengyu, had gone. There were at most 1 or 2 Sky Origin Realm experts left in the sect. If the beast cesspool was destroyed at this time, all the demon beasts inside would be released. The Blood Beast sect would definitely be in chaos. One had to know that those demon beasts absolutely hated the people of the Blood Beast sect to the bone. They wanted nothing more than to tear them to pieces. Once there was chaos, the people of the Blood Beast sect would be caught off guard and many would die. However, it was still difficult for the demon beasts in the beast cesspool to harm the Blood Beast sect. After all, there were still Sky Origin Realm experts in the Blood Beast sect. Moreover, there were definitely many formations and methods to deal with demon beasts. Leng Shiqi's purpose was to use the chaos in the beast cesspool to lure out the experts of the Wei capital. Of course, the sect master and the great elder had to be notified immediately after the chaos. With such a big thing happening, they would more or less send people back. Situ Huanshu, the sect master, would most likely not return. As for the remaining people, Xia Pengyu was the most suitable. What Leng Shiqi really wanted to do was to intercept and kill Xia Pengyu midway. If Xia Pengyu did not return, it did not matter. No matter who it was, he would still kill. Chapter 842. The ghost beast pointed in a direction. Leng Shiqi was not in a hurry. The beast hell was obviously guarded by strong cultivators, and there were definitely many formations. It was impossible to rush in rashly. If he did not make use of the previous sect master of the Blood Beast sect, it would be a waste of resources. He asked, "Tell me the specific situation of the beast hell. It would be best if there is a way to enter smoothly." The ghost beast's spiritual sense was not very high, and he spoke a little haltingly, "Master, the beast hell is guarded by a heaven origin realm cultivator at all times. There are layers of formations and restrictions. In the past, this servant could quietly enter without being noticed, but after a long time, the holes in the restrictions may have been repaired. This ghost beast actually had a way to enter." Leng Shiqi later investigated Zhuo Zhou's life. Back then, he secretly got some demonic beasts for experiments. In the beginning, the source of those demonic beasts was very likely the beast hell. This sect master was really not careless in poaching his own family's people. With the ghost beast as an insider, the man and ghost freely traveled through the Blood Beast sect as if there was no one around. Some of the important places had array formations, but the beast ghosts were always able to quietly create a small hole in the array formations. That was why no one noticed them even after they entered the Beast Hell. The Beast Hell was built under the Blood Beast sect and had a total of 3 floors. The first floor was the largest, and it was filled with low-level demonic beasts. The second floor was mainly for 4th level and 5th level demonic beasts. As for the third floor, it was specially prepared for 6th level demonic beasts. Ling Shiqi and the ghost beast entered the first floor. Strangely, it was not as noisy as he imagined. Instead, it was very quiet. Occasionally, there would be a few low roars of demonic beasts. The ghost beast explained, these demonic beasts have been put on beast rings and stripped of all their demonic power. They are basically the same as ordinary beasts. Every once in a while, the restrictions in the beast rings will be triggered, making the demonic beasts live a life worse than death, so they are usually very obedient. Ling Shiqi glanced around. The first floor of the Beast Hell held over 10,000 demonic beasts. Although they were only low-level demonic beasts, if all of them ran out and caused trouble, the Blood Beast sect would be very busy. How do we destroy the Beast Cesspool's array formation and those beast hoops? The ghost beast said word by word, this servant has the method to remove the beast ring, but it won't be easy to destroy the array. This beast cesspool is the foundation of the Blood Beast sect, and only the sect masters of each generation know where the core of the array is. Situ Huanshu must have already changed the location of the array core. If he couldn't find the array core, he could only force his way through. It will take at least a few Sky Origin stage cultivators to break through the beast cesspool's formation. But if they do that, most of the beasts inside will die. Ling Shiqi was not surprised. The beast cesspool was not a place that could be easily destroyed. Take me to the lower 2 floors first. He wanted to know how many demonic beasts there were down there, especially the 6th rank demonic beasts. Those rank 6 demonic beasts were what Ling Shiqi really wanted. Firstly, he could take revenge on the Blood Beast sect. Secondly, he could use this opportunity to recruit a few rank 6 demonic beasts. Without any hindrance, they arrived at the 3rd level of the beast cesspool without a hitch. Ling Shiqi looked around. Unexpectedly, this place was empty. He immediately felt that something was wrong. With the Blood Beast sect's strength, it was not difficult to catch a few rank 6 demonic beasts. How could there not be a single one on the 3rd time? Or was it a coincidence that all the demonic beasts here had been taken away for blood refinement? If that was the case, Ling Shiqi could only admit that he was unlucky. He asked the beast ghost, was the 3rd level of the beast cesspool empty like this in the past? This has never happened before. Under any circumstances, the beast cesspool would ensure that there are demonic beasts present. Ling Shiqi felt that it was true. This place was too important to the Blood Beast sect. If he was in charge of the Blood Beast sect, he would not leave the beast cesspool empty. At the very least, he would leave 1 or 2 spares. Since this situation had occurred, it meant that something big had happened inside the Blood Beast sect. The beast ghost wandered around and suddenly raised its hand to point in a direction. Master, there seems to be another entrance there. There was another entrance? Could it be that there was a 4th level of the beast cesspool? The beast ghost had left the Blood Beast sect for a long time, so it was reasonable for there to be some changes in the beast cesspool. Ling Shiqi walked to the place the beast ghost pointed at, but he did not find anything. This is a new restriction. This servant does not know how to pass through it. If there is any movement, it will be discovered by the people of the beast cesspool. Ling Shiqi did not understand formations, but he had his own way. Immediately after, his consciousness entered the underworld and communicated with Ozu. You still went. Ozu was naturally referring to Ling Shiqi going to the Northern Wei Empire. Ling Shiqi did not care too much about the so-called heavenly secrets. He said, since you're here, let's take things as they come. There's something I need your help with. If I help you, it might be the cause of your death. Are you sure? Ozu said mysteriously. Ling Shiqi paused for a moment. Could it be that his sneaking into the Blood Beast sect today was arranged by his fate? I'm just guessing. It's also possible that I won't help you. Who can say for sure? If you really want my help, I'll go with you. Oziu's words became more and more like a fraud. Leng Shiqi did not say much and directly brought Oziu to the beast cesspool. Try to help me find the entrance to the next level. It would be best if you could find the formation core here. When he attacked the 1,000 illusionary sword sect, Oziu had easily calculated the location of the formation core. Therefore, Leng Shiqi had planned to ask Oziu for help from the beginning. Oziu nodded slightly. Then, his eyes suddenly turned gray. There seemed to be no life in his eyes. He slowly walked on the 3rd level like a walking corpse. Leng Shiqi used the power of the earth to help him hide his aura. A moment later, he stopped in a corner and said, "Strange, I found the weakness of the entrance to the next level. I can try to take you to the next level. I also found the location of the formation core, but that formation core gives me the feeling that it's alive." A formation core, but it's alive? Even Leng Shiqi had never heard of this kind of thing. Do you want to go down? Oziu looked deeply at Leng Shiqi and asked. Leng Shiqi did not hesitate at all. Go. Fine. Oziu then formed a series of seals. The air in front of him twisted and a narrow door appeared. Leng Shiqi's body moved and entered. Oziu paused for a moment and followed. However, the 4th level of the beast cesspool shocked them. There was actually a huge blood-colored altar here. Leng Shiqi was very familiar with it. It was almost the same as the altar set up by the beast ghosts in the demon miasma mountain range. In the middle of the altar, there were chains made of dense runes binding a giant beast that was thousands of feet in size. After Leng Shiqi and Oziu arrived, the giant beast suddenly opened its scarlet eyes and roared with hatred, "It's you." Chapter 843. However, the target of the beast's roar was not Leng Shiqi or Oziu, but the beast ghost. At this moment, Leng Shiqi remembered that at the last moment of the battle with Shuozhou, a part of the beast ghost appeared. Now, it seemed to be the beast in front of him. He glanced at the beast ghost and saw that the beast ghost's expression showed a trace of astonishment. The beast ghost was already a wisp of soul. After being transformed into a ghost slave by Leng Shiqi, it only retained its memories from when it was alive. In fact, it did not have a true sense of self-consciousness. In other words, it should not have any expression at all. At this moment, Leng Shiqi clearly felt that the beast ghost's soul fluctuations had a huge fluctuation. Something must have happened between the beast ghost and the beast ghost, and it was not a happy kind. Leng Shiqi raised his head and looked directly at the beast. Since the other party only used its mind just now, it meant that it did not want to alarm the guard of the beast hell. The beast was sealed by countless chains, so he could not feel a strong aura. However, to be able to be suppressed in the 4th layer of the beast hell by the blood beast sect and set up so many restrictions, this beast was definitely very strong. In particular, Leng Shiqi also saw a few fresh demon beast corpses below the beast. From the aura, they were all rank 6 demon beast corpses. It turned out that the rank 6 demon beasts in the 3rd layer of the beast hell were all sent to the 4th layer as food for the beast in front of him. Leng Shiqi could not help but be curious. What exactly was this beast? You seem to hate him a lot. Leng Shiqi transmitted. The beast's eyes were almost spitting fire. Zhuozhou. You stole my power source and still dare to come back. At the same time, Leng Shiqi secretly calmed the beast ghost's emotions and asked, "What is it, and what does it have to do with you?" The beast ghost explained, "Master, it is called the beast sovereign in the blood beast sect. It is both the guardian of the blood beast sect and the source of its power. The blood beast sect uses blood beasts as its foundation, but the higher the rank of the demon beast, the rarer it is. After many years of hunting, the number of high-level demonic beasts in the extreme northern wastelands was getting fewer and fewer. As for those rank 7 great demonic beasts, they all had their own forces. Even the blood beast sect didn't dare to go deep into the extreme northern wastelands to capture rank 7 great demonic beasts. When someone in the sect broke through to the sky origin stage but didn't have a rank 7 great demon beast by his side, he would be considered mediocre among those of the same level. In order to solve this problem, the upper echelons of the Blood Beast sect had been thinking of ways to solve it. In the end, they had all set their sights on the venerable beast. They had researched all kinds of methods to obtain power from the revered beasts, and from there, they could cultivate high-level demonic beasts. But after so many years, the sovereign beast's power was slowly weakening. If it continued like this, the sovereign beast would die sooner or later. The higher-ups of the sect had no choice but to completely seal the venerable beast as their last trump card. Later, when I became the sovereign, I created a secret technique. If I succeeded, I could allow a rank 6 monster beast to avoid the heavenly tribulation and take advantage of the opportunity to advance into a rank 7 monster. Although they did not have demon souls and could not be considered true great demons, their strength was not much different. They could completely solve the most troublesome problem for the Blood Beast sect. Unfortunately, studying this secret technique required a large number of high-level demonic beasts. The sect did not agree with this approach, so I could only secretly steal some demonic beasts. As the secret technique became more and more perfect, ordinary demonic beasts could no longer satisfy me. I could only think of using the power of the sovereign beast. At this point, Ling Shiqi finally understood that the ghost beast's actions were actually for the sake of the sect. Unfortunately, as the sovereign, he did not have enough power. He could not do whatever he wanted in the Blood Beast sect, so he could only secretly do something. He had to admit that being the sovereign was quite sullen. The ghost beast continued, in the end, I simply set up an altar and directly absorbed a part of the sovereign beast's power. With this, I broke through to the peak of the sky origin stage in one fell swoop and gradually perfected my secret technique. However, everything had been exposed by then. The entire sect was furious, and I was later reduced to a traitor of the Blood Beast sect. Ling Shiqi knew what happened after that. Zhuozhou was rescued by the people of the Northern Wei dynasty and then joined the Hall of Worship as the head of the sect. From what happened in the demonic Miasma mountain range, the ghost beast's secret technique was indeed successful. The demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger were the finished products. However, the ghost beast's actions also touched the bottom line of the Blood Beast sect. They believed that he stole the sovereign beast's power source for his own personal gain, causing the sovereign beast's power to be greatly damaged. That was the foundation of the Blood Beast sect. If the ghost beast's secret technique had been perfected at that time, it might have made sense. Unfortunately, it was not. He could only be surrounded and killed by his own people. It was clearly a series of actions made by the sovereign for the sake of the sect, but in the end, he became a traitor of the Blood Beast sect. It was really ironic. No wonder the demonic beast had such a big reaction when it saw the ghost beast again. At the same time, Ling Shiqi also thought that since the ghost beast had mastered that kind of secret technique, then he still had Lu Ho and the other rank 6 demonic beasts under his command. It was not enough. He could use the secret technique to advance to rank 7. If he really succeeded, then he would have the combat power of 4 rank 7 demonic beasts. Of course, this was all for later. The most important thing now was to deal with this demonic beast. It was called the Sovereign Beast by the Blood Beast sect, so it should not be locked in the 4th layer of the beast cesspool, let alone be so miserable. After Zhuozhou left the Blood Beast sect, there were probably people in the Blood Beast sect who wanted to copy Zhuozhou and steal the Sovereign Beast's power. This gigantic blood-red altar was the proof of that. Ling Shiqi said, the Zhuozhou you hate is already dead. What you see now is only a wisp of his soul. You should not only hate Zhuozhou, right? The Sovereign Beast's gaze turned to Ling Shiqi. He suddenly felt an ancient demonic aura pressing down on him. If it was an ordinary Unity of Heaven realm cultivator, he would probably be seriously injured. However, this pressure on Ling Shiqi was like a clay ox entering the sea. It could not hurt him at all. The Sovereign Beast lowered his head and said solemnly, "Who are you?" Strength was so important everywhere. It was because of Ling Shiqi's strength that he had the qualifications to talk to the Sovereign Beast. Otherwise, he would probably become the Sovereign Beast's food. Who I am is not important. The key is that I am the enemy of the Blood Beast sect. Ling Shiqi did not know why the Sovereign Beast was willing to be enslaved by the Blood Beast sect for thousands of years, but he knew very well that the sovereign beast must hate the blood beast sect to the core. If he could release this sovereign beast, it would definitely be a blow to the blood beast sect. The sovereign beast's body suddenly emitted a wave of energy, but he immediately withdrew it. He asked cautiously, "What do you want to do?" Leng Shiqi shrugged his shoulders. "Nothing. I just want to take revenge on the blood beast sect." "With just you?" The sovereign beast was somewhat disdainful. Even if Leng Shiqi was not weak, it was still far from enough to fight against the blood beast sect alone. Leng Shiqi was about to speak when Oziu suddenly sent a voice transmission. "It is the eye of the beast cesspool." Chapter 844. The venerable beast was the formation core of the beast hell. Leng Shiqi and Oziu both found it strange. How could a formation core be alive? It turned out that the blood beast sect had used the venerable beast as the formation core of the beast hell. No. Leng Shiqi didn't think it was that simple. The venerable beast and the beast hell were both extremely important to the blood beast sect. The venerable beast was sealed in the 4th level of the beast hell. Since they wanted to seal it, how could they use it as the formation core? Did I seal myself? This kind of thing seemed a bit inconceivable, but it happened right in front of Leng Shiqi's eyes. This made his thoughts gradually extinguish. Because he had already thought that there was only one possibility for the venerable beast to voluntarily stay in the 4th level of the beast hell. That was, benefits. In this world, only benefits were paramount. Tap, tap. At this moment, faint footsteps sounded from the 4th level of the beast hell. Could it be that he had inadvertently alarmed the guardian here? Leng Shiqi looked around. There was nothing else in the 4th level of the beast hell other than the altar and the strange beasts. The strange thing was that he didn't see any spiritual aura. Even if the supercilious eye was getting more and more useful, it wasn't to the extent that he couldn't even see a shadow. Then, the venerable beast opened its bloody mouth, as if it was mocking him. All of a sudden, a hole opened up in front of his chest. Tendrils that looked like meridians spread out, and a figure slowly walked out from within. This person was actually inside the venerable beast's body. No wonder Leng Shiqi couldn't sense the other party's spiritual aura. An evil youth in a blood-red robe walked out. Seeing this person, Leng Shiqi's eyes flashed. He had seen this person before. When he was still in the spiritual pulse realm, he had met the disciples of the blood beast sect and the imperial beast camp in the demonic miasma mountain range. The person in front of him was a genius disciple of the blood beast sect who had also cultivated the demonic beast technique, Zhuoduanya. At that time, he was still fighting with the people of the imperial beast camp for the Vermilion Crag beast. Later, Leng Shiqi benefited from it. What surprised Leng Shiqi was that he remembered that Zhuoduanya had just broken through to the spirit pulse stage not long ago. However, Zhuoduanya's cultivation was actually at the heaven origin stage. Leng Shiqi's first thought was that it was impossible. It only took Leng Shiqi a few years to reach the sky origin stage from the spiritual pulse stage. Even Leng Shiqi couldn't do that. How did Zhuoduanya do it? Or did Zhuoduanya have an even stronger fortuitous encounter? However, cultivation did not represent everything. Even if Zhuoduanya was at the heavenly origin stage, Leng Shiqi had nothing to be afraid of. Many divine origin stage cultivators had died in his hands. If he had to, he did not mind completing the quest to upgrade the mansion of the dead. The next upgrade of the underworld required 10 divine origin souls. He had already collected the souls of the startling dragon sword king, the divine firmament supremacy, and the rain transformation heavenly master in Zhu Lu Nation and Bei Lu Nation. It would be nice to have one more. Zhuoduanya did not know that Leng Shiqi wanted to kill him. He put his hands behind his back and sneered. "You are the one who wants to take revenge on the blood beast sect?" When the beast ghost behind Leng Shiqi saw Zhuoduanya, its soul trembled slightly. It actually took the initiative to say 2 words. Duanya, the beast ghost did not have a physical body. Normal people could not even see it. However, a heavenly origin stage cultivator could see it clearly. Zhuoduanya's expression instantly froze. He said in shock, "Gee, grandfather? Ling Shiqi could not help but turn his head. The beast ghost and Zhuo Duanya were actually grandfather and grandson. The beast ghost was Zhuo Zhou. Both of them had the surname Zhuo. However, there were many people with the same surname. Ling Shiqi had never thought in this direction. He did not expect to see a grandfather and grandson reunite in the fourth level of the beast cesspool. Zhuo Duanya immediately saw that something was wrong with the beast ghost. He immediately rushed in front of the beast ghost. He was very agitated. Meanwhile, Ling Shiqi realized that there was a blood vessel-like thread behind Zhuo Duanya. The other end was connected to the beast venerable's body. What was the relationship between this man and beast? Ever since he entered the beast cesspool, he encountered one question after another. He still did not know the true relationship between the beast ghost and Zhuo Duanya. He secretly let the beast ghost test it out. "Grandfather, how did you become like this?" Zhuo Duanya reached out his hand, but it went through the beast ghost's body. He could not help but ask anxiously. The beast ghost slowly said, "I was ambushed by an expert in the Thunderfire dynasty and almost died. The Emperor of Fengdu gave me a part of my soul. That is why I am barely alive now. Duanya, what happened to your cultivation?" The beast ghost finally asked a question. Zhuo Duanya's expression turned serious. He turned to look at the beast venerable, as if he was trying to get the beast venerable's instructions. Seeing that the beast venerable did not have any reaction, Zhuo Duanya explained, "Grandfather, after you left the sect, Sidu Huanshu began to clean up the Zhuo clan's disciples. Father also escaped because of this. I don't know if he is alive or dead. Fortunately, I was still young at that time, and my talent was very high. That was why I was able to stay. Until a few years ago, the great elder Xia Pengyu suddenly found me and accepted me as his disciple. At first, I was very grateful to him, but I didn't expect that he had always been coveting the secret method that you had researched. I didn't know the secret method, and I only had a few words left behind by grandfather. I had no choice but to continue researching. Xia Pengyu secretly provided the materials of demonic beasts. 2 years ago, the beast venerable was alarmed by an inexplicable power. Xia Pengyu took this opportunity to persuade the sect master to build the fourth layer of the beast prison and seal the beast venerable here. Xia Pengyu also placed me here to use the beast venerable's power to research the secret method. Little did he know. At this point, the beast venerable continued, little did he know that I found this brat pleasing to the eye, so I simply gave him a part of my power to help him break through to the sky origin realm. Furthermore, I willingly became his blood beast. From then on, his position in the blood beast sect was transcendent. He became the blood beast sect's strongest trump card and was responsible for guarding the beast prison. After listening to Zhuo Duanya's experience, Ling Shiqi sneered in his heart. The beast venerable became Zhuo Duanya's blood beast? Ling Shiqi absolutely did not believe it. It was more likely that Zhuo Duanya became the beast venerable's puppet. In the past, the beast venerable should have been sealed and was in a deep sleep most of the time. But now, it looked like it was still sealed, but it secretly controlled Zhuo Duanya, the guardian of the beast prison. Not only could it wake up at any time, but it also had the opportunity to replenish its own power. The corpses of those 6th-rank demonic beasts explained everything. Ling Shiqi was not aware of Xia Pengyu's conspiracy, nor was he aware of the beast venerable's true purpose. These were not so important. When the beast venerable discovered the beast ghosts, why did it specially release Zhuo Duanya? At this moment, Ling Shiqi and the beast venerable looked at each other. They both saw the same meaning in each other's eyes. A deal. I want to destroy the beast prison and cause chaos in the blood beast sect. This way, I can help you cover up the dead 6th-rank demonic beasts. Beast venerable, state your conditions. Ling Shiqi quietly transmitted his voice. The beast venerable's voice immediately sounded in Ling Shiqi's mind. Brat, that depends on whether you have the qualifications to make a deal with me. Chapter 845. Zhuo Duanya, who was still immersed in the reunion, suddenly had a cold expression. He turned his head with a murderous look. Ling Shiqi understood that the sovereign beast wanted Zhuoduanya to test his true strength. He stretched out a finger and hooked it at Zhuoduanya. His provocation was obvious. Zhuoduanya grinned. Red light flashed in his eyes. A bloody glow rose behind him and condensed into a strange Dharma idol. It was not a demon beast, but a double-faced giant. One side was fierce and ferocious, while the other side was like a god from the 9 heavens, looking down on everything. Zhuoduanya used the sovereign beast's power to break through to the divine origin stage in a short time. His heaven and earth Dharma idol was not the sovereign beast, but such a strange thing. His momentum was not small, but the moment he made a move, he revealed that he had just entered the divine origin stage. Zhuoduanya grabbed with his 5 fingers, and the Dharma idol emitted a bright light. In an instant, a scarlet bloody aura emerged, and an endless wave of blood rushed forward. Ling Shiqi was expressionless. He had seen Xia Pengyu use this technique in the demonic Miasma mountain range. He stood upright, and a figure suddenly appeared behind him. Upon closer inspection, the figure was somewhat similar to Ling Shiqi. Immediately, he threw a punch, and the divine figure also threw a punch. Suddenly, a surge of domineering aura rushed to the 9 heavens, and the origin energy of heaven and earth was repelled. At this moment, the 4th level of the beast's cesspool was suppressed by the boundless domineering aura. Tyrant Fist's 3rd style, Tyrant's Barrier. The fist landed, and the wave of blood collapsed. Zhuoduanya was directly sent flying by the terrifying force of the fist. Bang! Zhuoduanya crashed into the array at the edge of the 4th level, causing the surrounding array patterns to shake. Finally, he fell heavily to the ground. He won with a single punch. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was obvious. However, no one cheered. The beast ghost itself did not have any emotional fluctuations. Oziu was already used to Ling Shiqi's freakish strength. The sovereign beast's eyes flashed. Ling Shiqi's strength was indeed beyond his expectations. As for Zhuoduanya, he suddenly stood up. His whole body surged with a bloody aura of a ferocious beast. Even his appearance was slowly changing. He looked like a half-demon bathed in blood. At the same time, his chi had increased tremendously. He was now approaching the middle stage of Sky Origin stage. Ling Shiqi could tell at a glance that Zhuoduanya had used some kind of secret technique. He did not continue to pay attention to Zhuoduanya. Instead, he said to the sovereign beast, "Is there still a need to continue fighting?" The venerable beast cackled. "Interesting. You're only in the unity of heaven and men stage, but you're already in the late stage of the Sky Origin stage. I've only seen 2 people like you in my entire life." After saying that, the crack in front of the venerable beast opened again, and dozens of tentacles directly pulled Zhuoduanya into it. There was no point in continuing this battle. It continued, "If you want to destroy the beast's cesspool's formation, I can help you, but you must hand over Zhuozhou's secret technique." It was that secret technique again. In fact, Ling Shiqi didn't pay too much attention to this secret technique from the beginning. In his heart, the beast ghost's methods were evil, so he didn't need to use it. But now, it seemed that the current head elder of the blood beast sect, Xia Pengyu, and the venerable beast were very interested in that secret technique. What exactly did the beast ghost discover? The beast cesspool's formation core was the venerable beast. Ling Shiqi didn't know how strong the venerable beast was, but he was sure that it was impossible to kill the venerable beast. A deal was the only way. Ling Shiqi let the beast ghost copy the secret technique into a jade slip and give it to the venerable beast. At the same time, he kept a copy for himself. Very good. The venerable beast clearly showed some joy. "I won't go back on my words. The blood beast sect needs to go through some turbulence. However, the blood beast sect can be in chaos, but it can't be destroyed. You understand, Ling Shiqi?" The last 3 words sounded like thunder in Ling Shiqi's ears. He had never told the venerable beast his name. How did the beast ghost know? The venerable beast was far more mysterious than he had imagined. Then, the venerable beast took out a bead the size of a human head from its mouth. This is part of the beast cesspool's formation core. After it is damaged, more than half of the beast cesspool's formation will be destroyed. Leng Shiqi took the bead. Before he left, he said tentatively, with the venerable beast's ability, a mere blood beast sect is not worth mentioning. What are you afraid of? In this short moment of contact with the venerable beast, he always had a feeling in his heart. The venerable beast had been in the blood beast sect for thousands of years. At first, he had always thought that the venerable beast was the nourishment of the blood beast sect. Now, he felt that the venerable beast was using the blood beast sect to hide something. However, the venerable beast was lying on the ground. The aura of its body was rapidly fading, as if it was about to fall asleep. Leng Shiqi left the fourth floor with Ozu and the beast ghost. When their figures disappeared, the venerable beast suddenly opened one of its eyes. Extremely complicated emotions flashed through its eyes. Then, it raised its hand and looked at the sky. Its gaze seemed to penetrate the beast cesspool, penetrate the 9 heavens, and reach the top of the world. A deep fear appeared in the venerable beast's eyes. Boy, you don't know what the most terrifying thing in this world is. But his aura feels familiar. Strange. Leng Shiqi came to the second floor of the beast cesspool and directly crushed the bead given to him by the venerable beast. As expected, a large number of formations in the beast cesspool collapsed in an instant. His body swayed, and hundreds of phantoms suddenly appeared. At the same time, he performed countless spirit arts and undid all the bracelets on the monsters. After that, he was no longer needed here. These abused demonic beasts all knew what to do. Roar. Immediately after, waves of angry roars sounded in the blood beast sect. Soon, the alarm in the sect rang loudly, and figures rushed over in a hurry. A battle between humans and monsters in the blood beast sect instantly began. Leng Shiqi had already told 9 Leave to be prepared to intercept and kill Xiaopengyu. There were no rank 6 monsters in the beast cesspool, so it was not a big threat to the blood beast sect. He was sure that the blood beast sect would only need a moment to suppress those monsters. There was no need to ask for help from the powerhouses in the Wei capital. However, the destruction of the beast cesspool still had to be reported. Xiaopengyu would naturally know about it. This great elder secretly had designs on the venerable beast, and the venerable beast was in the 4th floor of the beast cesspool. Therefore, Xiaopengyu would definitely find a way to rush back if something happened to the beast cesspool. In a large courtyard in the Wei capital, several higher-ups of the blood beast sect sat together. Sect Master Situ Huanshu said in a deep voice, "In the past 2 years, many of our elite disciples have been killed by that demoness. Even an elder has fallen. This has made fewer and fewer geniuses willing to come to our sect. Don't hide your strength in this all-spirit gathering. The blood beast sect must take the first place." They all nodded, but in the next moment, Situ Huanshu's expression suddenly changed. He said in surprise, "The beast cesspool has been destroyed. All the monsters are causing trouble in the sect." The others were also shocked. The beast cesspool was too important to the blood beast sect. There were countless formations set up in it over the years. How could it be destroyed so easily? And who was the one who destroyed it? What were the casualties in the sect now? These were the things that everyone was most worried about. Among them, Xiaopengyu's expression was the worst. Not long ago, he was the one who proposed to use the venerable beast as the formation core of the beast cesspool. He had his own unknown motives. But now the beast cesspool had been destroyed. Not to mention whether he would be punished by Situ Huanshu, what he was most afraid of now was whether the venerable beast had met with an accident. The beast cesspool and the beast cesspool were the foundation of the blood beast sect. If something happened to them, not only would he become a sinner of the blood beast sect, but he would also never be able to get what he wanted. He stood up and said solemnly, "Sect Master, something is wrong. Let me go back and investigate." Chapter 846. Situ Huanshu pondered for a moment and said, "We can't lose the beast cesspool and sovereign beast. Head Elder and Elder Tian go back together and stabilize the sect as soon as possible. Then, find out who did it. Even a formation master can't destroy the beast cesspool's formation. There must be a mole in the sect. He wasn't worried about the blood beast sect's losses. He already knew that there were no rank 6 beasts among the rampaging beasts in the beast cesspool. The sect's strength was more than enough to deal with these beasts. It was precisely the lack of rank 6 beasts that made Situ Huanshu suspicious. The third level of the beast cesspool clearly imprisoned rank 6 beasts. If the formation was destroyed, how could they be indifferent? What worried him even more was that there were only a few people in the blood beast sect who had the ability to break the beast cesspool's formation. And they were all higher-ups. This meant that there was a mole among the higher-ups. A middle-aged man with a big belly next to Xie Pengyu stood up. He was one of the elders of the blood beast sect, Tian Qisheng, and he had a cultivation at the middle stage of the sky origin realm. Senior brother sect master, don't worry. Xie Pengyu didn't say much. He turned around and rushed back to the blood beast sect with Tian Qisheng. After the two of them left, Situ Huanshu secretly took out a jade token and suddenly crushed it. 1,000 miles away, Xie Pengyu and Tian Qisheng turned into two blood-colored streams of light and streaked across the sky. Suddenly, the origin energy of heaven and earth surged wildly, and a misty power spread out. The two of them felt as if there was a great force on their bodies. Caught off guard, they fell from the sky. Bang! Bang! The two of them fell to the ground. They had spiritual power protecting their bodies, so naturally, they weren't injured at all. However, their faces were full of seriousness and vigilance. Especially the pressure that was like Mount Tai, they had to divide a part of their strength to resist it. The person who could do this was at least a powerhouse at the late stage of the sky origin realm. This kind of powerhouse was very rare in the blood beast sect. Who could be targeting them? A blood river flowed around Xie Pengyu's body, and his killing intent soared to the sky. His voice spread all around. You're a high-ranking person. Isn't it humiliating to hide like this? No one answered him. There was only a violent explosion of sword intent. Under this sword, divine light suddenly appeared, and the netherworld rose in all directions. Ghosts and gods were shocked. Ghost sword. The target of this sword was not Xie Pengyu, but Tian Qisheng, who was next to him. When the powerful sword intent condensed together, the power was so great that it shocked Tian Qisheng. He subconsciously wanted to dodge, but the ghost god's sword was no longer a simple sword. The surrounding dozens of miles had already become a sword domain, so there was no way for him to dodge. Tian Qisheng instantly formed a seal, and a huge blood-red array lit up beneath his feet. A huge blood beast appeared. This blood beast had a slender body that resembled a snake and a fish. There were even two long dragon whiskers at the corners of its mouth. Clearly, this was the blood fiend that Tian Qisheng had refined from several types of demonic beasts. Fish python, break my sword. The fish python opened its mouth wide, expanding infinitely. In the blink of an eye, it was as if it was going to swallow the heavens and the earth, swallowing even the essence energy of heaven and earth. The ghost god's sword immediately dimmed. Seeing this, Tian Qisheng was secretly delighted. The greatest ability of his blood beast fish python was that it could swallow a part of the original energy of heaven and earth. The most powerful ability of the Tianyuan stage was to use the original energy of heaven and earth. Once the original energy of heaven and earth was limited, the power of the spiritual skill would be greatly reduced. At the same time, Xie Pengyu was also ready to attack. However, a demonic voice sounded, Xie Pengyu, do you still remember me? Immediately, countless purple demonic powers burst out of the heavenly cycle. As the demonic powers flowed, they formed a purple crystal space about 10 miles wide that enveloped Xie Pengyu. Xie Pengyu immediately recognized who it was. He shouted in horror, soul-leaving scorpion, you're not dead again? The reason why he said, again, was because Nine Leaf had indeed strangely resurrected twice in his hands. The first time was in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Nine Leaf had self-destructed and her soul had been taken away by Leng Shiqi. The second time was a year ago when the Blood Beast sect, the Imperial Beast abode, and the Northern Wei Empire had joined forces to kill Nine Leave. In the end, Nine Leave had escaped into the underworld with serious injuries. Now that Nine Leave had appeared again, Xia Pengyu was both surprised and troubled. Nine Leave had brought a lot of trouble to the Blood Beast sect, and many of their disciples had died. However, Nine Leave's whereabouts were unpredictable, and they couldn't kill her. Anyone would have a headache when facing such an enemy. What's more, Xia Pengyu was in a hurry to return to the Blood Beast sect and was blocked by Nine Leave. He wanted to kill Nine Leave 10 times over. However, he also knew that it was impossible to leave easily today. The blood river behind Xia Pengyu roared, and a strange beast the size of a small mountain with fleshy wings on its back walked out of the blood river. The strange beast clenched its fists, and a visible wave spread out. This strange beast's strength was comparable to the middle stage of the Sky Origin realm. The blood beasts that the Blood Beast sect created using various secret techniques were actually very flawed. They definitely couldn't compare to a true Sky Origin realm expert. However, Xia Pengyu's strange beast had the feeling of breaking through with force, and it was obviously much stronger than when it was in the demonic Miasma mountain range. I've seen enough of your Qi Xing beast. It's time to let you see my true body. After Nine Leave finished speaking, boundless demonic powers and ghost aura surged around her. Her body grew a little taller, and under the encirclement of her power, a dark purple demonic armor was formed. 8 sharp spikes protruded from its back, resembling a pair of alien wings. Nine Leave looked down from above, but there was still some divine intent in her demonic eyes. After Nine Leave received Ghost Emperor Yao Ye's inheritance, her cultivation had finally recovered to the 7th rank. Her true body had changed from a pure demon to a half-demon half-god. A god from the underworld. At this moment, whether it was the demonic bloodline or the Ghost Emperor aura in Nine Leave's body, they made the Qi Xing beast feel a suppression on its soul. It even had the urge to kneel on the ground. Nine Leave waved her hand, and a terrifying illusion of hundreds of feet appeared behind her. It was an endless hell. There was a sea of blood rising, a river flowing backward, and countless evil spirits struggling and wailing. It was clearly broad daylight, but it made Xia Pengyu and Tian Qixing feel like they had fallen into hell. Xia Pengyu's heart sank. After a year, Nine Leave's strength had improved at a godly speed, far surpassing the last time they fought. Nine Leave's hands formed claws, and in an instant, thousands of ghosts wailed. The heaven and earth became incomparably dark, and a powerful and cold force seemed to be able to tear the void apart. The Qi Xing beast suddenly screamed. Xia Pengyu turned his head and saw that countless claw marks had appeared on the Qi Xing beast's body. What astonishing speed, what powerful destructive power. No one knew better than him how powerful the Qi Xing beast was, but now, the Qi Xing beast didn't seem to be a match for Nine Leave. Xia Pengyu held a hooked spear, and a layer of strange ripples rippled out. In the next moment, blood-colored spear shadows covered the sky, and everything nearby was sealed. However, those spear shadows were also rapidly dissipating, and they could only barely hold on. One man and one beast, yet they were firmly suppressed by Nine Leave's strength alone. Chapter 847. Leng Shiqi originally thought that Nine Leave's strength would be comparable to a Sky Origin late-stage cultivator after recovering to rank 7. Now that he was fighting with Xia Pengyu, he was able to suppress a Sky Origin late-stage cultivator and a blood fiend. This strength was beyond Leng Shiqi's expectations. He collected his thoughts and decided to deal with his opponent first. Tian Qixing barely blocked the demon god's sword. Leng Shiqi appeared with a huge mysterious whirlpool slowly rotating above his head. Then, the whirlpool turned into a huge bloody eye. There was a vertical pupil in the bloody eye, which seemed to reflect countless white bones. And those white bones were actually all kinds of demons. When the huge eye appeared, whether it was Tian Qixing's fish python or Xia Pengyu's Qi Xing beast, they all suddenly cried out in fear. Even the fish python curled up and shivered. Eye of the Six Paths, Animal Path. The Eye of the Six Paths was comprehended by Leng Shiqi not long ago when he comprehended the 6 paths of reincarnation in the underworld. Each path had a different power. This animal path could make all the demons in the world submit to the law. Leng Shiqi formed a seal and the eye of the animal path stood behind him. Then, his eyes turned into the eye of the animal path. With just one look, the fish python suddenly seemed to be tortured. Its whole body kept twisting, and a lot of terrible wounds appeared on its body. The fish python had the strength of a 7th-rank demon, but it was so vulnerable in front of Leng Shiqi. Tian Qixing didn't know what was going on. He had never seen such a strange method since he started cultivating. But he knew that if this continued, the fish python that he had spent so much effort to cultivate would die. He was about to make a move, but suddenly he was shocked. He felt like he was being stared at by the god of death. Leng Shiqi had 4 arms on his back and instantly formed seals. In an instant, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. Endless astral winds suddenly rose and the ground was frozen. What was even more strange was that the thunder, astral wind, and ice crystals rapidly condensed in the blink of an eye, leaving only 3 seals that were half the height of a person. But just these 3 seals were enough to make Tian Qixing tremble in fear. This was because the 3 seals exuded a power that made him both envious and fearful. The power of the laws of heaven and earth. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that his opponent would be a Tongxian realm expert. The 3 voices drew upon the power of the laws of ice, wind, and thunder, and repelled all other energies, creating a small, narrow world with a radius of over 10,000 feet. Then, endless divine lightning struck down. Gales that could destroy the void swept across the world. Ice crystals that could freeze the past and the present were frozen. Violent energy surged in this small world, as if it was the end of the world. This was the 3-talent seal that Leng Shiqi had continuously derived from the 3 talents imperial art, to the extreme. Tian Qixing was horrified. In the face of this doomsday-like power, he didn't even have a chance to fight back. Any spiritual skill or secret method was powerless in the face of this power. Leng Shiqi reached out and clenched his fist, and the whole small world collapsed. Tian Qixing, who was swallowed up, died with his eyes wide open. He asked, "Who are you?" "Underworld, Emperor of Fengdu," Leng Shiqi said indifferently, and then took away Tian Qixing's soul. An elder of the blood beast sect in the middle stage of the heavenly origin realm could be killed with a flip of his hand. On the other side, Xia Pengyu was also in despair. When he fought with 9 Leave just now, although he was at a disadvantage at the beginning, he still had many trump cards. He might not be able to turn defeat into victory, but at least he was confident that he could escape unscathed. However, after Leng Shiqi's Eye of the 6 Paths appeared, Xia Pengyu's Qi Xing beast was also greatly affected. It didn't even resist and allowed 9 Leave to attack. At this time, it was already covered in wounds. At this time, Xia Pengyu realized that Leng Shiqi, this mysterious person, was their blood beast sect's nemesis. He had already begun to think of retreating. As long as he could break through 9 Leaves' purple crystal space, he could immediately contact Sect Master Situ Huanshu. When the experts of the blood beast sect arrived, everything would be easy to discuss. However, when Leng Shiqi used the 3-talent seal to instantly kill Tian Qixing, Xia Pengyu was a little stunned. That mysterious person was actually a mystic comprehending realm expert. A mystic comprehending realm expert was personally dealing with them. Xia Pengyu couldn't figure out when a mystic comprehending realm expert appeared in the Northern Wei Empire. Why would he help a monster like 9 Leave deal with the blood beast sect? It was useless to think about this now. With a mystic comprehending realm expert here, Xia Pengyu knew that he was no match for him. He hurriedly said, "Senior, please don't attack. There is no hatred that cannot be resolved in this world. As long as Senior is magnanimous, I am willing to pay any price." Hearing this, Leng Shiqi laughed inwardly. Back then, when Xia Pengyu displayed his might in the Demon Miasma mountain range, Leng Shiqi was only a low-level spirit cultivator in the spirit transformation realm. Now, he had become Xia Pengyu's senior. He wouldn't talk nonsense with Xia Pengyu. The other party was the great elder of a top sect. Who knew how many trump cards he had? Moreover, this place was thousands of miles away from Northern Wei, but it wasn't too far for the Sky Origin realm. If Xia Pengyu spread the news, it would be troublesome. Therefore, he had to end the battle as soon as possible. Nine Leave, help me restrain him. Nine Leaves smiled eerily. A faint purple scorpion image appeared behind her. A sharp voice pierced through Xia Pengyu's sea of consciousness and into the depths of his soul. That voice was like a hook that could directly hook out his soul. Xia Pengyu's vision darkened and felt like he was going to faint. He suddenly bit his tongue and burned all the essence blood in his body. However, he was shocked to find that a portion of his essence blood was leaving his body uncontrollably. He looked up and saw a blood mark floating in the sky. It was this thing that was guiding his essence blood. Blood guide heavens might seal. It was specially used to deal with burning essence blood. At this moment, Xia Pengyu's soul was out of control. His essence blood was also out of control. He was also being suppressed by the gravity space, and Nine Leaves' amethyst space was cutting off his spiritual sense. As for the Qi Xing beast, it didn't dare to move under the deterrence of the Eye of the Six Paths. It felt like it couldn't cry out for help. It clearly had the cultivation of the Sky Origin late stage, but it couldn't even use 20 to 30% of its power. What awaited Xia Pengyu was only death. And it was an extremely sullen death. No. Xia Pengyu thought of his great ambitions. He hadn't reached his goal yet. He couldn't die like this. Meanwhile, 3 Dharma images of heaven and earth appeared beside Leng Shiqi. One of them was the Buddha of Slaughter holding a Buddhist monk's blade. The other was the Emperor of Fengdu from the 9 underworlds, who ruled over life and death. The Dharma image in the middle was like a god from the heavenly palace. It looked down on all living things. The 3 Dharma images swung their blades at the same time. Divine light appeared to slay gods and vanquish the void. Demonic flames filled the sky and cut through the void. Buddhist light bloomed and purified the world. The 3 flowers of God, Demon, and Buddha were short-lived. Xia Pengyu turned into ashes amidst his endless terror. Chapter 848. You killed him before I even had the chance to use my full strength. Nine Leave was a little unhappy. Xia Pengyu was one of the 2 people she hated the most. It was too easy for him to die just like that. Leng Shiqi was too lazy to answer. A Sky Origin late-stage cultivator couldn't be underestimated. If Xia Pengyu hadn't been suppressed everywhere, he wouldn't have been killed so easily. Nine Leave didn't want to take advantage. He changed the subject and said, Xia Pengyu is dead. What are you going to do next? Xia Pengyu is dead, but the Blood Beast sect is still here. Nine Leaves' meaning was obvious. She was still going to deal with the Blood Beast sect. Leng Shiqi immediately advised, I advise you not to target the Blood Beast sect anymore. The main culprit is already dead, and the Blood Beast sect has paid with the lives of a large number of disciples and 2 elders. This is enough to eliminate the hatred in your heart. Huh? Nine Leave was puzzled. Was this something Leng Shiqi would say? If it was in the past, Leng Shiqi would definitely try to destroy the Blood Beast sect. Even if he couldn't destroy it, he would drive the tiger to devour the wolf. In short, the Blood Beast sect wouldn't have an easy time. But Leng Shiqi said this at this time. Even Nine Leave felt that the Leng Shiqi in front of her had been replaced. Of course, Leng Shiqi was still him. The reason why he said this was because he was very afraid of the Beast Sovereign. The mysterious and powerful Beast Sovereign. In particular, the Beast Sovereign had specifically reminded Leng Shiqi that the Blood Beast sect could be in chaos, but it couldn't be destroyed. Leng Shiqi was not afraid, but steady. He explained, I found an extraordinary existence in the Blood Beast sect before. With your strength and mine, it's better not to provoke it. Nine Leaves' expression also became a little heavy. She knew Leng Shiqi very well. To be able to be evaluated by him as an existence that couldn't be provoked, it must be abnormally powerful. Well, let's put aside the grievances of the Blood Beast sect for the time being. Then I will target the Imperial Beast sect. Nine Leave also followed her heart. To Nine Leaves' surprise, Ling Shiqi shook his head again and said, "No, we can't touch the Imperial Beast Camp either." One had to know that the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had been mortal enemies for countless years. Now that the Blood Beast sect had lost 3 Sky Origin stage experts and a large number of disciples, it could be said that it was a great loss. What do you think the Imperial Beast Camp will do next? Devour the Blood Beast sect. Nine Leaf immediately understood what Ling Shiqi meant. Since the Blood Beast sect's strength had been greatly damaged, the Imperial Beast Abode would naturally suppress the Blood Beast sect in all aspects. Even without Nine Leaves' intervention, the Blood Beast sect would only become more and more miserable. If Nine Leaf went to cause trouble for the Imperial Beast Abode at this time, with such a powerful enemy, the Imperial Beast Abode would have no time to care about the Blood Beast sect. Therefore, Nine Leaf didn't have to do anything. He just had to sit and watch the dogs bite each other. Ling Shiqi continued, originally, the 2 top sects were on par with each other in terms of power. They fought with each other, but no one could do anything to the other. Now, the Blood Beast sect is obviously at a great disadvantage. However, the Blood Beast sect still has Situ Huanshu, the sect master, and he can't be suppressed by the Imperial Beast Abode. Therefore, I predict that there will be a war between the 2 sects in the near future. When this war starts, you can secretly intervene. That will be the greatest revenge against them. After listening to this, Nine Leaf confirmed that Ling Shiqi had not been replaced. Okay, it seems that I have nowhere to go. Nine Leaves' revenge was half completed. The 1,000-legged beast king of the Imperial Beast Abode, Nan Men Yun, could not be touched for the time being. It seemed that she really had nothing to do. As for participating in the all-spirit gathering, it was impossible. If she didn't make a move, the Goo King could help her cover up her aura. Once she made a move, everything would be exposed. Nine Leaf rolled his eyes and said, "Forget it, then I'll go to the far northern wastelands. After all, that's the habitat of the demon clan. With my strength, I might even be able to become a demon king." As he said that, he became excited. Ling Shiqi clapped his hands and praised. Going to the far northern wastelands was good. Let's go and kill those demon beasts. You helped me kill Xie Pengyu. I don't know how to repay such a big favor. Before leaving, Nine Leaves said faintly. In the past, she often lent Ling Shiqi a part of her strength. Now that their strength had even reversed, she didn't know how to repay the favor. We've been together for a long time. It's not easy for us to get to where we are today. I can still help you with this. Ling Shiqi said generously. Immediately, he changed the topic. If you must help me, that's fine. As he said that, he handed a jade slip to Nine Leaf. This is the location of the lightning-type tribulation divine thunder. It's in the far northern wastelands, but the specific location is not very clear. I don't know if it has been taken away by others. Since you're going to the far northern wastelands, why don't you help me find it on the way? I knew you wouldn't lose out. It's just a small matter. Leave it to me. Nine Leaf put away the jade slip and was about to leave. Suddenly, a roar filled with boundless anger sounded. How dare you touch my blood beast sex people? You're courting death. In the distance, dots of green light converged into a figure. The voice came from this person. It's Situ Huanshu. Nine Leaf was shocked at first. She had been using the purple crystal space to block Xie Pengyu, not giving the other party a chance to send a message. How could Situ Huanshu appear here? However, when Nine Leaf took a look, she immediately chuckled. So it's just an illusion. With this little strength, you dare to bark in front of this old lady? Evildoer, it's actually you. Situ Huanshu immediately recognized Nine Leaf, and he was naturally shocked. Previously, he had sent Xie Pengyu and Tian Qixing back to the sect to suppress the riot in the beast cesspool. He had already determined that there was a mole in the main sect, so these two were naturally on his list of suspects. Therefore, he deliberately kept an eye out and released an illusion to quietly follow behind them to see if there was a mole in these two people. Unfortunately, his illusion was not fast enough, so he could only follow from a distance. By accident, he happened to see the scene of Xia Pengyu being killed. He knew that the person who could kill Xia Pengyu and Tian Qixing must be very powerful. He could not deal with him at all with his illusory body. His biggest goal was still to know who the murderer was. When he saw that it was Nine Leaf, his hatred could not help but soar. This demoness had been surrounded and killed by them several times and had not died. Now, she had killed 2 elders of the Blood Beast sect. This enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. At the same time, Situ Huanshu also noticed Ling Shiqi. At this time, Ling Shiqi was dressed in the attire of the Emperor of Fengdu, and his aura was as unfathomable as the abyss. Situ Huanshu instantly saw that Ling Shiqi was a bigger threat than Nine Leaf. Who was this mysterious person? Before he could say anything, Nine Leaf snapped his fingers, and his illusory body was torn apart and scattered. I didn't expect Situ Huanshu to have a trick up his sleeve. Fortunately, he acted fast enough. His original body should be on the way. I'll leave first. Nine Leaf left after saying that. Ling Shiqi's palm stroked the void, and the strange power of the earth wiped out all traces of the battle. Even if Situ Huanshu came here, he would not be able to find any clues. Chapter 849. After doing this, Ling Shiqi instantly teleported back to Wei Capital and returned to his room. Since the dust had settled, there was nothing for him to worry about. In order to complete the act, he specially created a fake Nine Leaf to show his face before disappearing into a corner. It had only been a day or two since he dealt with the Blood Beast sect. The myriad spirit meet was about to begin, so he should make preparations. Originally, Ling Shiqi had planned to use the sword, the blade, and the 4 spirits formation diagram as his main combat strength. He believed that with his physical strength and spirit power, he would be able to get a good ranking in the Sky Origin stage. He didn't need to be first. He just needed to be qualified to enter the Ashen Aeon realm. The top 5 in the Heavenly Yuan realm could enter. However, Situ Huanshu had seen his short-lived success, so he naturally couldn't use it again. This way, his public strength would be weaker. He had to think of other methods. After resting for a while, Ling Shiqi called Banning over. Your Highness, please give me your orders. Banning bowed and chuckled. Give me the information on all the Heavenly Yuan realm battles in the myriad spirit meet. Ling Shiqi wouldn't be careless. He had to understand his future opponents first. Banning chuckled. I've already prepared it for your Highness. Please take a look. He presented an exquisite scroll to Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi nodded his head in satisfaction and began to read it. There were far more Heavenly Yuan realm experts participating in the myriad spirit meet than the world's first spirit cultivator meet. After all, the Thunderblaze dynasty's relationship with the spirit cultivator sects was too strained. Almost no one dared to come. Only the Supreme Saber Hall's Hall Master, Fu Yingxi, came. In the end, he brought back the title of number 1 in the world and was made a fool of by the Thunderblaze dynasty. It was said that Fu Yingxi didn't have an easy time after that. Heavenly Yuan realm experts came to challenge him every few days. If he accepted the challenge, the challengers would only become stronger and stronger. He would lose sooner or later. If he didn't accept the challenge, he would only be scolded as a coward. Yushu was in the Supreme Saber Hall. It was said that Fu Yingxi was in a sorry state all day, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. In the end, Fu Yingxi couldn't take it anymore. He could only take the initiative to give up the title of number 1 in the world. Whoever wanted to fight for it could do so. 33 Sky Origin stage cultivators had signed up for the All Spirits gathering. More than half of them were experts from the Northern Wei Empire. For example, the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had 7 experts in total. There was also the Heavenly Dipper sect, one of the 5 level sects, and the Fallen Cherry Spirit region, one of the 4 sacred spirit regions. The remaining people were from the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Starfall dynasty. The one from the Thunderfire dynasty was Xian Haoying. Ling Shiqi had sensed her spiritual energy before, and she was definitely at the peak of the Heaven Origin stage. The strongest person from the Starfall dynasty was the Duke of Qi. Whether it was strength or prestige, he was extremely high in the Starfall dynasty. It was said that he had already touched the edge of the mystic comprehending realm. Ban Ning also marked out the strongest people among these people. The Northern Wei Empire's people were Blood Beast Sect Master Situ Huanshu, Imperial Beast Sect Master 10 Directions Beast King Luo Lu, Heavenly Dipper Sect Master Kong Jianba, and Falling Cherry Spirit Domains Fairy Luo Ying. These people were the sect masters of the top sects in the Northern Wei Empire. If they were not at the late stage of the Heaven Origin stage, then they were at the peak of the Heaven Origin stage. Any one of them was an existence that could shake the world. The four of them were the most popular candidates to become the champion of the Myriad Spirit Gathering, especially Fairy Luo Ying. Many people believed that she would become the champion. However, the Thunderblaze dynasty's Imperial Consecration Hall's Xian Haoying and the Starfall dynasty's Duke of Qi were not to be underestimated. They represented their respective empires to fight for face. It could be seen that the battle between the Heaven Origin stage was extremely intense. Other than the 33 Heaven Origin stage experts, there were two other special people. They participated in the battle between the Heaven Origin stage experts with their unity of Heaven Origin stage cultivation. Leng Shiqi was one of them. When he saw the name of the other person, he was also surprised. 10,000 Laws Wondrous Sect, Meng Tian Tian. Leng Shiqi still had a fresh memory of this person. Meng Tian Tian had once used only a glance to make him sink into dozens of illusions. One had to know that Leng Shiqi's mental strength was not weak. Furthermore, he had cultivated high-level illusions. Even so, he was still in such a sorry state. It could be seen that Meng Tiantian's attainments in illusions were shocking. In Leng Shiqi's heart, other than the 6 popular experts, Meng Tian Tian was the biggest threat to him. He continued to read carefully. The report also briefly described the spiritual techniques that everyone was proficient in. Of course, it was only superficial. Any Heaven Origin stage expert had many methods, and this could only be used as a reference. Time passed in a flash, and the Myriad Spirit Gathering was finally about to begin. The spirit cultivators that came from the Thunderblaze dynasty were divided into 2 types. The various sects were one type, and there were not many of them. Most of them were from sects that were closer to the Northern Wei Empire. The other type was Leng Shiqi and the other spirit cultivators that belonged to the Thunderblaze dynasty. Everyone was led by Xian Haoying, who was the strongest force that came from the Thunderblaze dynasty. Leng Shiqi was second. His cultivation was not high, but his strength was publicly recognized as comparable to the Heaven Origin stage. Furthermore, his status as the King of the West Desolation was incomparable. Even Xian Haoying was very polite to him. Everyone gathered together. Xian Haoying was a man who looked somewhat refined. His noble aura made people look sideways. He smiled and said, "I've long heard that the King of the West Desolation is young and promising. Today, I've seen that you live up to your reputation." He knew that Leng Shiqi had signed up for the Heaven Origin stage competition. The key was that everyone who knew about this thought that it was normal. Even the people of the Northern Wei Empire could not find anything wrong with Leng Shiqi's battle results. They could only say that the Thunderblaze dynasty had indeed produced a peerless genius. "Lord Xian is too kind," Leng Shiqi said courteously. "With Lord Xian here, I think that the position of the champion will be easily obtained." There are many experts here this time. I don't dare to boast, but I still have some confidence. Xian Haoying was also quite confident. Perhaps in his eyes, only the Starfall dynasty's Duke Qi and Fairy Luo Ying had the qualifications to be his true opponents. He then looked at Delta Origi, Zhuge Puha, and the rest. The dynasty has you all as pillars. What is there to worry about? Let's go to the martial field first. The martial field was the place where the 1,000 Spirit Gathering was held. However, the location was not within the Wei capital, but 100 miles north. There were tens of thousands of spirit cultivators participating in the competition, and there was no lack of experts. If they all fought in the Wei capital, even with the protection of the array, it was hard to avoid some accidents. Therefore, the Northern Wei Empire specially built a place for the competition. Ling Shiqi and the rest walked out of the inn and headed towards the martial field. After they left, 3 people in black cloaks came out from the corner. "Is it him?" one of them asked. "That's right. We waited bitterly for him in the Zhuge family for nearly 2 years, but he came directly here. Let's go. Everything is about to begin." Chapter 850. Although the martial field was called a martial field, it was actually very large. The entire martial field was built in a circular shape with more than 10 levels, making it look like a giant arena. More than 100,000 people were squeezed into the martial field like countless ants. The intense heat waves made everyone excited. They were about to witness many experts from all over the continent fighting. It must be known that those low-level spirit cultivators would only see a few high-level spirit cultivators in their entire lives. Just like when Ling Shiqi carried out his first mission in the blood clothing pavilion, even if he encountered Bo Yuanho's tomb, it would only attract low-level spirit cultivators. Having 2 or 3 spirit pulse realm cultivators was enough to be called experts. Only when one's cultivation and strength increased would they have the chance to come into contact with spirit cultivators of the same level or even stronger people. Ling Shiqi and the rest were all participants. They came to the resting room through a special passage, but the group was still separated. The 3 Sky Origin Realm cultivators of the Thunderfire dynasty and Ling Shiqi were in the same room. The 3 of them were Xian Haoying, the old man, and a Sky Origin Realm middle stage expert. It was a lady in a blue dress with a veil covering her face. She had an unapproachable look. On the way here, the old man transmitted a message to Ling Shiqi. This person was a rare female in the Imperial Consecration Hall. She was an expert in water element and was called Shui Lioli. Because Ling Shiqi was going to participate in the Sky Origin Realm battle, he was also arranged to be here. Taking advantage of the fact that there was still some time before the 1,000 spirit gathering, the few of them started to chat. The old man muttered, "There are a total of 35 people in the Sky Origin Realm, and we have 4. Don't tell me we will meet in the first round." The probability of this was not small, but Xian Haoying said, "I have specifically asked about this. In the first round of the Sky Origin Realm battles, the 3 empires have a rule of avoidance. If we get an opponent from each empire, we can draw lots again." Following that, the few of them talked about the rules of the 1,000 spirit gathering. There were no qualifiers for the 1,000 spirit gathering, so there were tens of thousands of participants gathered in the martial field. If they were to fight one-on-one, who knew how long it would take? The Northern Wei Empire's method was to eliminate the sand with great waves. At this moment, there were dozens of towers in the center of the martial arts field, known as the Trial Towers. Over 1,000 people could enter the Tower of Trials at a time, and the time limit was 1 hour. Only the 10 people who could walk out of the Tower of Trials were qualified to enter the next round. It was said that there were many traps in the Tower of Trials, and there were even demonic beasts. Of course, the Northern Wei Empire would not allow the participants to die so easily. Therefore, there were some safe rooms in the Tower of Trials. As long as the participants entered the safe rooms, they would not be in any danger. Similarly, entering the safe room also meant that you had lost the chance to advance. After passing the Tower of Trials, all the low-level spirit cultivator would be finished in just a few rounds. The efficiency was extremely fast. However, the fluctuations from the battle between Unity of Heaven Realm and Heaven Origin Realm experts were too great. Moreover, there weren't many of them, so it wasn't suitable to use the Trial Tower. The Northern Wei Empire had used a miraculous item, the Mental Illusion Array, to prevent the Northern Wei Empire from attacking. When the 2 combatants walked into the illusory array, they would be able to create a scene and an illusion of themselves. In the illusory array, they would be able to imitate everything they had learned. Even their spirit weapons could be imitated. More importantly, the people outside would be able to watch the battle inside the array. To be able to watch the battle between Unity of Heaven Realm and Heaven Origin Realm experts was a rare sight. Everyone was looking forward to this. However, there were too many participants, and the Northern Wei Empire did not want the 1,000 spirit gathering to end too early. Therefore, they arranged a few Heaven Origin Realm battles every day as the finale. As the few of them chatted, time slowly passed. A portion of the low-level Spirit Cultivator, Spirit Pulse Realm, Spirit Aperture Realm, and Spirit Astral Realm battles ended. Finally, it was the Heaven Origin Realm's turn. The entire martial field's fiery atmosphere instantly reached its peak. Under everyone's gazes, the first pair of opponents was drawn out. Thunderous Blaze Empire's King of the West, Ling Shiqi, versus Northern Wei Empire's Demon Execution Division, Wu Changyu. The Demon Execution Division was similar to the Discipline Division of the Thunderous Blaze Empire. The difference was that other than suppressing the Spirit Cultivator sects, the Demon Execution Division also had to guard the Northern Wastelands. In the Northern Wastelands, there were often many demonic beasts that came to harass them. There were even some demonic beasts with special abilities that sneaked in and caused trouble everywhere. The Demon Execution Division also had to deal with these demonic beasts. This Wu Changyu was the commissioner of the Demon Execution Division. He could be considered the second in command and had a Heaven Origin Realm middle stage cultivation. Wu Changyu was extremely famous in the Northern Wei Empire. He even had a glorious battle record of killing a 7th-level great demon by himself. Seeing that he was about to appear, everyone in the martial field immediately cheered loudly. As for Ling Shiqi, almost no one cared about him because no one knew him. The Thunderous Blaze Empire had registered him for the Heaven Origin Realm battle. Many big shots had secretly investigated him, but to a large number of low-level spirit cultivators, they did not have the qualifications. They only knew that Ling Shiqi was the Thunderous Blaze Empire's King of the West, and other than that, they did not know much. The highest level of the stands was filled with famous people. When they saw that the first battle was between Wu Changyu and Ling Shiqi, they all revealed a smile that everyone understood. They were very clear that Ling Shiqi was only at the unity of heaven and man realm. Although they knew that Ling Shiqi had defeated Elder Shao of the Six Directions domain and was very strong, Elder Shao had just entered the Heaven Origin Realm a few years ago, while Wu Changyu was at the Heaven Origin Realm middle stage. Furthermore, Wu Changyu was a battle maniac. He often went deep into the northern wastelands to fight with demon beasts. His battle strength was definitely at the peak of the same realm. No matter how strong Ling Shiqi was, he could not be stronger than Wu Changyu. In the end, the Thousand Spirit Gathering was organized by the Northern Wei Empire. The first and most important battle naturally had to be arranged. The Northern Wei Empire had to win. As the saying goes, pick the soft persimmon to pinch. The only opponents that could guarantee victory were Ling Shiqi and Meng Tiantian. Meng Tiantian was from the 10,000 Laws mysterious sect. Compared to Ling Shiqi, the Thunderous Blaze Empire's King of the West and one of the 4 Dark Lightning Guards, defeating Ling Shiqi in the first battle was equivalent to slapping the Thunderous Blaze Empire's face. Of course, defeating him was the most worthwhile. As for whether or not he would be accused of bullying the weak, he was the one who insisted on fighting with a Heaven Origin Realm cultivator. Who else could he blame? Everyone should know about this King of the West. What a pity. Ha ha ha, it is indeed a pity. If he were to participate in the battle of the unity of heaven and man realm, with his strength, there would not be many who could be his opponent. Who asked him to not know what is good for him? He thinks that he is invincible after defeating a Heaven Origin Realm cultivator. Young people are still young people. The important figures all believed that Ling Shiqi would lose without a doubt and could not help but ridicule him. They did not deliberately hide their words, and these words were also heard by the nearby cultivators. Then, it quickly spread from 1 to 10 to 100. Only now did they know that Ling Shiqi was only at the unity of heaven and man realm. Chapter 851. The arena was in an uproar. More than 90% of the people present did not know about Ling Shiqi's battle record. When he stood on the stage, no one could tell his cultivation level. Whether it was unity of heaven or heaven origin, they were all existences that everyone looked up to. However, when they found out about Ling Shiqi's cultivation level, they were shocked. Heaven Origin was a super powerhouse that surpassed the 4 realms of heaven and man. Unity of heaven was like an ant in front of a Heaven Origin powerhouse. This Ling Shiqi actually dared to fight a Heaven Origin powerhouse. Did he want to die? On the stage, Ling Shiqi ignored everyone and faced his opponent. Wu Changyu of the Demon Slayers division was a little short and average-looking. However, when he stood there, he felt like a volcano that was about to erupt. No one knew how powerful his body was. Waves of astonishing battle intent surged out from him. He did not underestimate Ling Shiqi. No matter how others looked at it, Wu Changyu himself might not be able to defeat a Heaven Origin powerhouse in one strike. Maybe he could, but he would have to use all his strength. However, according to the information he received from Ling Shiqi easily defeated Elder Shao. Clearly, Ling Shiqi did not use all his strength. Therefore, he never underestimated Ling Shiqi from the beginning. The two walked into the illusory array. Ling Shiqi sat cross-legged on a piece of jade. Then, his spiritual body entered the illusory array, and a person that looked exactly like him appeared. The scenery around him had also turned into a barren land. In the distance, there were a few small hills rising and falling one after another. Ling Shiqi reached out and seemed to grab a wisp of air. It's almost the same as the outside world. This illusory array is not simple. I heard that you are very strong. I wonder how strong you are. Wu Changyu's voice came. At this time, he had also entered an illusory body. He stood in the air and looked down at Ling Shiqi. You'll know when you try. Ling Shiqi stepped lightly and stood in the air. He did not control the elemental energy of heaven and earth. Instead, he used the law of Earth's anti-gravity. This scene was different in everyone's eyes. Those who did not know better would think that he had broken through to Heaven Origin. Because of this, the martial arts arena also caused a burst of exclamations. Inside the illusory array, Wu Changyu's expression froze. He had wanted to provoke Ling Shiqi with his words and attitude, but who would have thought that it would not work at all? Ling Shiqi's calmness and methods made him pay more attention to him. Buzz. A spiritual sword materialized in front of Ling Shiqi. It was the Class 8 Earth weapon, Thousand Illusion Dao Sword. With a thought, a layer of scarlet golden flames appeared on the sword, and there seemed to be a dragon soul swimming within it. Thousand Illusion Dao Sword, Crimson Gold Earth Dragon Flame, Wu Changyu muttered. The Thousand Illusion Dao Sword was a rank 8 Earth weapon, and it was also the most precious treasure of the Thousand Illusion Sword sect. Even in the Heaven Origin realm, it was very rare to have a spirit artifact of this level. Heavenly strange flames were even rarer than rank 8 Earth soldiers. Even though Wu Changyu already knew that Ling Shiqi had them, he still frowned when he felt the sword intent and the blazing flames. He waved his hands, and the surrounding origin energy of heaven and earth instantly condensed. He pointed a finger, and the power of this finger shook the void, containing an extremely violent power. Wu Changyu had spent his entire life fighting against demonic beasts. His spirit cultivation path could only be described in one word: battle. When fighting demons, those fancy spirit techniques were useless. The simpler and more violent the power, the more effective it was. Ling Shiqi's finger flicked the blade of the sword, and the Thousand Illusion Dao Sword immediately let out an excited cry. In an instant, the sword roared, and the blazing flame sword intent roared out. The pure violent finger energy collided with the Crimson Gold Earth Dragon Sword, and immediately a powerful wave was produced. The power was enough to cover the sky, and the sky in the illusory array suddenly turned gray. If they were fighting in the capital of Wei, this kind of power could probably overturn the entire capital. The spectators outside the arena were also overturned. The first exchange was such a terrifying scene, and it was a feast for their eyes. But to the two people fighting, this level of attack was just a probing attack. In other words, they had not used their true strength. When the light dissipated, the two were indeed safe and sound. However, the two of them had different expressions. Ling 17 had a calm and collected look, while Wu Changyu had a grave and stern expression. He clawed down, and the origin energy of heaven and earth condensed into a giant handprint hundreds of feet large. It was wild and unstoppable. Ling Shiqi's Thousand Illusion Dao Sword suddenly split into four. The power of earth, wind, water, and fire exploded. The surrounding void was torn apart, and endless life and death was contained within. It was extremely terrifying. The power of the four symbols was a kind of origin energy of the world, and it contained the Tao of life and death. At this time, it displayed the power to destroy the world. Leng Shiqi, who was in seclusion, did not give up on comprehending other powers. His understanding of the power of the four symbols deepened, and it became the four symbols sword Tao. What he cared about was not how powerful the four symbols sword Tao could be, but how to comprehend the power of the five elements. The power of the five elements had been troubling Leng Shiqi. After a long time, he thought of a shortcut. The four symbols of earth, water, and fire corresponded with the formless earth, water, and fire. He would integrate the power of the four symbols into the sword Tao, and then use the four symbols sword Tao to deduce the five elements sword Tao, and comprehend the power of the five elements. Of course, this was the ideal situation. Leng Shiqi did not know if it would succeed, but it was still a way. To him, the four symbols sword Tao was purely a transition, but in Wu Changyu's eyes, it was very different. The four origin Tao swords circled around Leng Shiqi, and the terrifying four symbols sword intent made Wu Changyu's pupils shrink. How could this power be controlled by someone in the unity of heaven and man realm? Leng Shiqi moved his finger, and the four Tao swords whizzed out. Strange phenomena appeared in the world, and they strangled towards Wu Changyu. Facing the four symbols sword Tao, Wu Changyu felt an unprecedented pressure. It was a pressure that not even a rank 7 great demon could give him. Wu Changyu was not afraid. On the contrary, his whole body was already burning with fighting spirit. The stronger Leng Shiqi was, the more powerful his fighting strength would be. Stepping out, a figure appeared behind Wu Changyu. The figure was like an ancient demon god, tearing the sky with his hands and crushing the earth with his feet. Punches after punches were thrown out, and each punch shook the illusion. The four Tao swords were blocked by the fist shadows, and each sword collided with dozens of fist shadows at the same time. The ear-piercing sound of the collision was deafening, and the explosion of spiritual power stimulated everyone's vision. Everyone kept exclaiming. This was a terrifying scene brought about by a battle between Sky Origin Realm experts. They had unknowingly forgotten that Leng Shiqi's cultivation was only in the unity of heaven and man realm. The battle between the two naturally fell into the eyes of the other Sky Origin Realm experts. The old man was the first to mutter, "Good fellow," he actually integrated the power of the four symbols into his sword Tao. No wonder this kid has not broken through to the Sky Origin Realm. It turns out that he has a big plan. Xian Haoying nodded slightly. His Majesty's vision is indeed sharp. Leng Shiqi's cultivation level in the future will probably surpass yours and mine. There is no need for the dynasty to restrict this kind of person. It is enough as long as he is willing to stand on the side of the dynasty. Even Shui Lioli, who had never spoken before, had a strange look in her eyes. Chapter 852. Meanwhile, Northern Wei's heavenly origin territory was even more shocked. Imperial Beast Abode's 10 Directions Beast King, Luo Lu, said in surprise, to be able to grasp a trace of the power of the four elements at the unity of heaven and man realm and combine it with his own sword Tao, even half of the heavenly origin realm can't do this. This kid's talent and comprehension are really too terrifying. Don't belittle yourself by praising others. The armored man beside him added. This person stood there like a small mountain. His arms were exposed, and every muscle contained explosive power. He was the Heavenly Dipper sect master, Kong Jianba, who was at the peak of the heavenly origin realm. Moreover, he was an extremely rare body cultivator in the world. His body was invincible, and he could break through with force. This king of the Western Desolation is indeed monstrous, but didn't the Blood Beast sect also have Zhuoduanya? He broke through to the heavenly origin realm before the age of 40. Situ Huanshu, why didn't you let Zhuoduanya participate in the all-spirit gathering this time? The one who spoke was a beauty who was half lying on a chair. She was dressed in gorgeous pink, which made her look luxurious and charming. She was Fairy Luoing from the Falling Cherry Spirit region. Her cultivation was also at the peak of the heavenly origin realm. Situ Huanshu's face was gloomy, and he ignored Fairy Luoying. These few days, he had been busy settling down the disciples of the Blood Beast sect and tracking down the culprit behind the scenes. In the end, he had found nothing. He valued the all-spirit gathering very much. This was a great opportunity to stand out, and he didn't want to give it up. He still had to come and participate, but the progress of hunting down the culprit would basically be put on hold again. It would be strange if he was in a good mood. Fairy Luoying saw that Situ Huanshu didn't speak, and her face turned cold. She snorted and said, "Sect Master Situ is so arrogant. I heard that there was a riot in the Blood Beast sect's beast prison a few days ago, and almost all the demonic beasts inside died. Aya, how many disciples can't get their own blood beasts now? How pitiful." Imperial Beast Abode sect master, Luo Lu, took the opportunity to mock and ridicule. He had already started to secretly target the Blood Beast sect. Situ Huanshu was still unmoved. These words couldn't shake his mentality, and could only make him hate the culprit even more. He would never have thought that the culprit behind the scenes was right in front of him. The Four Elements Sword Dao was not as explosive as the Four Spirits Array diagram, but it was more flexible. Leng Shiqi formed a sword with his fingers, and the four swords suddenly bloomed with brilliance. In an instant, huge waves surged into the sky, dragon flames destroyed the world, Mount Tai pressed down, and wind swept through the world. All kinds of forces erupted in the illusory realm, instantly filling the entire illusory realm. A force of nirvanic extermination suddenly appeared, directly shattering the divine shadow behind Wu Changyu. Pooh! The destruction of the Dharma idol immediately caused Wu Changyu to suffer a serious injury. This scene was naturally seen by everyone. There was a strange silence in the martial arts field. Everyone had been watching enthusiastically earlier. Now that Wu Changyu had spat out blood, they realized that this wasn't just a battle of the all-spirit gathering. To a certain extent, it was also related to the reputation of the two empires. In terms of cultivation, Wu Changyu was obviously much stronger than Leng Shiqi. However, it turned out that Wu Changyu, a middle-stage Sky Origin stage cultivator, was the one who was injured. The old man clicked his tongue in wonder. "Gugue, I'm afraid even I can't beat this kid." Xian Haoying and Shui Liuli were also surprised. On the Northern Wei Empire's side, Fairy Luoying even stood up. "I originally thought that he had only comprehended a bit of the Four Elements Sword Dao. He can actually materialize the Four Elements Sword Dao. No, if he can do this, why hasn't he broken through to the Sky Origin stage? It's a pity that Wu Changyu is going to become a sinner." The Big Dipper sect master, Kong Jianba, muttered to himself. The Imperial Beast Abodes Luo Lu and the Blood Beast sect Situ Huanshu weren't thinking about this. At this moment, they were both thinking about whether they could win if they were in Wu Changyu's place. If it was a battle of life and death, as the sect masters of two top sects, they were confident that they could win with the help of powerful spirit beasts and blood fiends. However, this was not a battle of life and death, but a competition. There were many methods that were not suitable for them to use. Moreover, they would be fighting in the illusion. Although the illusion could manifest the same cultivation level, it might not be able to manifest the full strength of the spirit beasts and blood fiends. Therefore, this was a huge disadvantage for Luo Lu and Situ Huanshu. Under such circumstances, they really didn't dare to say that they could win against Leng Shiqi. In the illusion array, Wu Changyu was silent for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, "I admit defeat." Hua. As soon as he said this, the spirit cultivators in the martial field immediately shouted. "You haven't lost yet, why are you admitting defeat? It's just a slip of the hand. You're the commissioner of the demon slaying division, how can you admit defeat so easily? Losing to someone in the unity of heaven realm, your reputation will be ruined if you admit defeat. It will also make the Northern Wei Empire lose face." Wu Changyu knew what they were talking about, but he also knew that there was no point in continuing the fight. He didn't have the ability to resist the explosive power of the Four Elements Sword Dao. Even if he used all his skills, he would only lose even more miserably. At that time, he would only lose even more face. After he admitted defeat, someone announced on the spot that the winner of this competition was Leng Shiqi from the Thunderblaze Empire. In fact, Leng Shiqi was a little surprised that Wu Changyu admitted defeat like this. In the past, all his opponents had fought with their lives on the line. Perhaps it was because this was a competition, so it was normal for Wu Changyu to admit defeat when he saw that there was no hope of winning. After winning, Leng Shiqi returned to his room and naturally, he couldn't help but congratulate him. This time, the Northern Wei Empire had deliberately arranged for him to fight with Wu Changyu in order to suppress the prestige of the Thunderblaze Empire. But now, it was simply the opposite. On the contrary, it had pushed Leng Shiqi's reputation to the peak. Now, he could be considered to be known by everyone in the Northern Wei Empire. At the same time, the atmosphere on the Starfall Empire's side was very harmonious. Naturally, they could see the results of the battle between the Thunderblaze Empire and the Northern Wei Empire. There were 3 people in this room, and they all came from the Starfall Empire. The long-bearded old man sitting in the middle was the strongest person in this trip, Duke Qi. Trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. The Northern Wei Empire has lost a lot of face. The one-eyed man on the right of Duke Qi sneered. Duke Qi squinted his eyes and said, "That king of the Western wilderness is not simple. Investigate carefully." Yes. A skinny young man stood on his left expressionlessly and disappeared without a trace. The competition continued. After the first round, it was the turn of the Northern Wei Empire's Imperial Hall of Worship and the Starfall Empire's Sky Devil Palace's experts. Leng Shiqi stayed here to watch the battle. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he felt that someone was spying on him. He immediately spread out his senses, but he couldn't find any clues. Deep underground outside the martial field, 3 people in black were operating a small formation together. A skull with half black and half bright floated in the middle of the 3 people. The imprint is above average. Let's wait for the result. Chapter 853. Leng Shiqi did not pay too much attention to it. He had just defeated Wu Changyu, so it was normal for some people to spy on him. The next battle was very exciting. Both sides were very close in strength, unlike Leng Shiqi and Wu Changyu, who were done in a few moves. The 2 of them fought until the sky turned dark, causing the cultivators outside to be extremely excited. In the blink of an eye, they had already forgotten about Wu Changyu's defeat. Fortunately, the experts from the Northern Wei Empire managed to win the match and managed to salvage some of the Northern Wei Empire's face. Their battle also ignited everyone's interest, and they looked forward to the next battle of the Sky Origin Realm. This time, there were a total of 35 Sky Origin Realm experts, including Leng Shiqi and Meng Tian. One of them had a bye in the first round, so there were 17 battles in the first round. The Northern Wei Empire had scheduled these 17 battles to be completed in 4 days, so there would only be 4 battles today. Next, the old man also made his move and defeated an expert from the Imperial Beast House. The Thunderfire Empire won 2 battles today, and everyone was happy. After that, everyone returned to the inn, where Leng Shiqi continued to meditate and comprehend the power of the 5 elements. Pain, so painful. All the bones in his body felt as if they were broken. The young man opened his eyes with difficulty and found himself curled up in a dark corner of a prison. The prison was filled with a foul stench, and there seemed to be a trace of blood mixed in the stench. The young man seemed to be used to it, because he had been brought here for a long time. As for how long it had been, he did not know. There was not a single ray of sunlight here, so he did not know how long it had been. He still remembered that there were 20 to 30 people like him back then, and this small prison was packed to the brim. But now, he was the only one left. Every once in a while, they would be forced to drink some strange liquid. Every time they drank it, they would be in unbearable pain. It was an unimaginable pain. Some people lost their lives in that extreme pain. Gradually, the young man was the only one left in the prison. Not long ago, he was brought out and tied to a hard rock. Lying on it, he felt a chill seeping into his body from his back, causing him to shudder. In front of him stood 3 expressionless people. They seemed to be expressionless, as if their faces were fake. They looked very scary. The youth did not resist. He knew that resistance was useless. "Let's begin," the person in the middle said. His voice was as stiff as a dead person's. The fingers of the two people on the left and right were as black as ink. Suddenly, they lengthened by a few inches. Wisps of black chi swirled around them as they pierced into the young man's ribs. "Ah!" The youth screamed, but strangely, he didn't bleed at all. The two men opened two buttons on both sides of his body and took out a strange object each. That thing looked like a small heart, beating twice from time to time. The color of the hearts in their hands was different. One was black, while the other was light blue. The young man didn't know what they were going to do. He could only rely on his tenacious will to support himself. Then, they placed the two hearts into the young man's body. Finally, one of them chanted and formed a series of black seals. The young man's body immediately began to twitch violently. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices and his eyes turned white. Then, he suddenly stopped moving. It seemed that he had died. The 3 of them were already used to this and remained expressionless. "Carry him away," the man in the middle said and turned to leave. But the young man's body suddenly straightened. He actually came back to life. The youth was panting heavily while the other 3 stared with wide eyes, their faces filled with disbelief. The man in the middle finally had an expression. He immediately shouted in surprise, "We did it! Quickly report to the Holy Master." The young man was confused. He didn't know why he didn't die. He quickly saw the Holy Master that the 3 of them were talking about. It was a white-haired old man, but the old man's eyes were very strange. One of his eyes was endless black. It was like a whirlpool in hell that could suck away a person's soul. The other eye was filled with countless stars. It was as if there was a universe in his eyes. What was even stranger was that when the young man saw the Holy Master, he felt an inexplicable sense of closeness. "Very good." The Holy Master stared at the young man for a while and nodded in satisfaction. The young man was confused. The Holy Master suddenly reached out to grab the young man. Whoosh! Leng Shiqi suddenly woke up from his dream. Immediately, his expression changed. All kinds of emotions flashed through his eyes. The golden light behind his head shone brightly. It was a sign that he had activated the power of his primordial spirit to the extreme. How could he be dreaming? He clearly remembered that he was comprehending the power of the 5 elements. How could he suddenly fall asleep and have a strange dream? Leng Shiqi was now at the peak of the unity of heaven and man realm. His spiritual power was far stronger than ordinary sky origin realm cultivators. Sleeping and dreaming were very unfamiliar to him. Ever since he came to this world, the number of times he had slept could be counted on one hand. So why did he suddenly fall asleep while cultivating today? There must be something wrong. Leng Shiqi fully activated his primordial spirit. Half of the way capital was in his perception, but he couldn't find anything strange. Then he remembered that when he was in the arena, he felt that someone was secretly spying on him. The spying person might be trying to secretly do something. Could it be Meng Tiantian? Leng Shiqi was the first to suspect Meng Tiantian. If there was anyone who could make him fall asleep in a dream, it seemed that other than the mysterious Meng Tiantian, no one could do it. The key was that the dream was too real. It didn't seem like an illusion. The boy's confusion, hesitation, and fear were similar to what Leng Shiqi experienced. Especially the Divine Lord who appeared at the end. His eyes were scary, but there was also a sense of familiarity. It was too strange. Instead of saying that it was a dream, it was more like a memory. Thinking of this, Leng Shiqi was shocked. He suddenly realized that there was a problem that he had never cared about before, and that was the memory of his current body. When he woke up, he was already on the Blood Fog Island. He had asked Yushu and Delta Origi before, but they didn't have any memories before coming to the Blood Fog Island. Therefore, Leng Shiqi had always thought that the people of the Blood Clothing Pavilion had erased their previous memories. At that time, they hadn't cultivated yet, so erasing their memories wasn't troublesome. After that, Ling Shiqi didn't deliberately search for the memory of the original body because he felt that it was meaningless. When he awakened the bloodline of the Star Clan and the Dark Shadow Clan in his body, he realized that he should be related to the Nether Temple. Therefore, he began to collect information about the Nether Temple. From the looks of it, the things that happened in the dream just now might have been the original memories of this body. Chapter 854. If that was the case, why did this memory appear out of nowhere? And it happened right after Ling Shiqi sensed that someone was spying on him. This made Ling Shiqi even more vigilant. He felt that someone was watching him recently. However, this was also within his expectations. He changed his name in the Western Desolate Province and came to participate in the All-Spirit Gathering openly. His purpose was to lure someone out. That was the Nether Temple. When he was still in the Imperial capital, he heard Eunuch Gao mention the name Ling Shiqi in the hall of the Nether Temple. Coincidentally, he also wanted to find people from the Nether Temple, so he used himself as bait. The current situation was most likely caused by the people from the Nether Temple in the dark. However, the enemy was in the dark while he was in the light. Moreover, those people were very good at hiding, so he could not find them in a short time. This body of mine has the bloodline of both the Star Clan and the Dark Shadow Clan. The Nether Temple and the Dark Shadow Clan are inextricably linked. The Nether Temple is even controlled by the Dark Shadow Clan. In the dream, I seemed to be a test subject. In the end, I was the only one who survived. Who was the Saint Master? What did he do to the original me? How did I get caught by the Blood Cloth Pavilion and thrown away on the Blood Mist Island? A series of questions appeared in Ling Shiqi's mind. When he recalled the eyes of the Saint Master, he could not help but tremble. One of the Saint Master's eyes was dark, while the other was bright. It was clearly the sign of having both the bloodline of the Star Clan and the Dark Shadow Clan. Ling Shiqi thought of a possibility. The Saint Master might not have much time left, or he might have other purposes. So, he wanted to create a person with both bloodlines. Then, he would take over the body. In other words, Ling Shiqi's original body was a tool. However, something happened and it was lost. In the end, it was found by the Blood Cloth Pavilion and thrown away on the Blood Mist Island. The Blood Mist Island was a small secret territory that the Blood Cloth Pavilion temporarily opened. Therefore, the Nether Temple could not find this body even after searching the entire continent. Of course, all this was just Ling Shiqi's guess. As for whether it was true or not, he had to ask the people of the Blood Cloth Pavilion first. He immediately entered the underworld and contacted Formless through the underworld lamp. Wu Yan Ghost Monarch appeared and Wu Xiang asked, "My dear disciple, what's the matter?" "Master, I want to know who brought me to Blood Mist Island," Ling Shiqi said in a deep voice. "This." Wu Xiang paused for a moment. "I'm not sure about this either. It was all arranged by the Pavilion Lord himself. The Pavilion Master of the Blood Cloak Pavilion, Hateful Blade." Ling Shiqi frowned. This was going to be troublesome. Since he had become the king of the Western Wilderness without authorization, his relationship with the blood-robed pavilion had already been strained. It would be impossible for him to directly ask Hateful Blade about it. This matter could only be discussed at length. "I heard that you defeated Wu Changyu of the Monster Execution Department at the Myriad Spirit Flourishing Assembly. TSK, even I, your master, am probably no match for you now." Wu Xiang took the initiative to change the topic. The battle with the Ling Shiqi had not ended for long, and the Blood Garment Pavilion had already received the news. The intelligence network was indeed powerful. The two of them chatted for a while and then parted. Wu Xiang could not get any information from him. Ling Shiqi was immediately placed in an absolute passive position. In this situation, he could only take one step at a time. As the saying went, since he was already here, he should take things as they came. Sooner or later, the other party would make a move, and when they made a move, there was a chance that they would expose their flaws. After stabilizing his mind, Ling Shiqi closed his eyes and began to comprehend the power of the 5 elements again. He did not dare to stop for even a moment. This matter made him feel a sense of urgency. Although he was now very strong and could be ranked in the upper tier of the heaven origin stage, it was still not enough. In the next few days, Ling Shiqi did not participate in the myriad spirit flourishing assembly. He had already entered the next round, so he might as well use this time to cultivate. The 3 days of competition quickly ended. Unexpectedly, the old man from the Thunderfire dynasty was defeated. Xian Haoying and Shui Liuli both defeated their opponents. However, the old man seemed to be in a good mood. He was still cheerful. In addition, Meng Tian, who Ling Shiqi was more concerned about, also defeated a heaven origin stage opponent. Shi and Ling Shiqi were both in the unity of heaven and man realm. These two people were the most talked about recently. After all, it was too abnormal for the weak to defeat the strong. Coincidentally, they were both from the Thunderfire dynasty. Many people even thought that they were a good match. Ling Shiqi did not care about this. There were still 18 experts left. The Thunderfire dynasty had 4 including Meng Tian, the Starfall dynasty had 5, and the remaining 9 were from the Northern Wei dynasty. In the past few days, many people from the Northern Wei dynasty had been defeated. However, they had too many people. In the end, the number of people still made up the majority. At the same time, the Northern Wei dynasty had announced their opponents in advance. This way, they could prepare for their opponents. Ling Shiqi's next opponent was the Acacia sect from the Starfall dynasty. The Acacia sect was not very popular in the Starfall dynasty. Their strength barely squeezed into the 6 paths demon realm, but they were at the bottom. This sect mainly used the method of gathering yin to nourish yang to increase their cultivation. They were despised by the world. However, they had many followers. Moreover, there were some officials and nobles who secretly asked for medicine. Because of their complicated relationships, the sect had been passed down until now. Ling Shiqi's opponent was the Acacia sect's sect master, young Master Acacia. He was a heaven origin late-stage expert and was very strong. Xian Haoying specially sent someone to bring him information about young Master Acacia. She hoped that Ling Shiqi's chances of winning would be higher. In fact, Xian Haoying and the others felt that Ling Shiqi's chances of winning were not high. Last time, he defeated Wu Changyu, who was at the heaven origin middle stage. However, it did not mean that his strength was comparable to a heaven origin late stage expert. Moreover, there were differences between heaven origin late stage experts. For example, Blood Beast sect Xia Pengyu and Situ Huanshu were both at the heaven origin late stage, but there was a difference in strength between them. Young Master Acacia was the sect master of a top sect. He enjoyed countless resources and had an entire sect's inheritance to cultivate. His strength was definitely very strong. In Xian Haoying's view, as long as Ling Shiqi did not lose in an ugly manner, his name would be enough to shake the continent. Ling Shiqi did not say anything. After reading the information about young Master Acacia, he already had a plan in mind. If he encountered an expert like the Imperial Beast Camp sect master, he would most likely lose if he did not use his full strength. However, his opponent was young Master Acacia, who cultivated a heterogeneous demonic cultivation method. Your Highness, someone wants to see you. At this time, Ban Ning's voice came from outside the door. Ling Shiqi subconsciously wanted to refuse, but the scene in front of him suddenly changed. He was in the middle of a sparkling lake. The water splashed and condensed into a graceful figure. Don't you want to see me? The person who came was Meng Tian. Chapter 855. Ling Shiqi's primordial spirit moved and left the illusion. He opened the door and saw Meng Tian standing at the door. So it's Miss Meng, please come in. Meng Tian smiled, thank you for opening the door for me, Western Desolate King. Even though she said that, she still walked in on her own accord. Ling Shiqi waved his hand and Ban Ning's face was filled with admiration. He bowed and left with a strange smile. Ling Shiqi and Meng Tian didn't have much interaction. The last time they met was in the capital of the Thunder Flame dynasty. The 10,000 Laws sect came to celebrate the late Emperor Lei Qingjuan's birthday. It was at that time that he saw how terrifying Meng Tian was, so he didn't know the purpose of Meng Tian's visit. Who knew that the first thing Meng Tian said after sitting down would shock Ling Shiqi? Your cultivation of the five-god flowing light art isn't very good. In this world, the only one who knew that he cultivated the five-god flowing light art was Oziu. How did Meng Tian know? Don't be nervous, because the cultivation method I cultivate is the illusion heavenly spirit art. Meng Tian explained. Ling Shiqi's eyes flashed. He had obtained the inheritance of the five-god flowing light art in the illusion spirit's secret realm. This cultivation method was actually a part of the Divine Illusion Palace's strongest cultivation method, the Divine Illusion Spirit Art. The Divine Illusion Spirit Art had 3 parts. They were the five-god flowing light art, the illusory world art, and the illusion heavenly spirit art. The five-god flowing light art was obtained by Ling Shiqi. The illusory world art was with Oziu. As for the last part, it was said that it was obtained by an expert hundreds of years ago. Later on, Ling Shiqi also went to inquire about it, but no one knew who that person was. Who would have thought that it would end up in the 10,000 Laws sect? Moreover, these 3 cultivation methods had a certain connection with each other. Cultivators could indeed sense it. No wonder Meng Tian knew that he cultivated the five-god flowing light art. Meng Tian said, "You should understand now. The illusory heavenly spirit technique is in the mysterious 10,000 Laws sect. Back then, it was obtained by the previous sect master. After that, he entered the mysterious 10,000 Laws sect, so this technique was naturally left behind in the sect. The illusory heavenly spirit technique is extremely difficult to cultivate. Currently, in the entire mysterious 10,000 Laws sect, only the sect master and I have successfully cultivated it." Ling Shiqi understood. He also knew Meng Tian's goal. She wanted to gather all 3 techniques and recreate the divine dream spirit art. Ling Shiqi had once had such a plan. He and Oziu had already exchanged cultivation techniques. At this moment, the last part was right in front of him. Of course, he also wanted to obtain the final, divine dream spirit art. But Ling Shiqi still shook his head and said, "What's the point of telling me this?" Your Highness the Western Wasteland King is asking the obvious." Meng Tian moved closer to Ling Shiqi and smiled sweetly. "Could it be that Prince doesn't want the divine dream spirit technique? It's rumored that the divine dream spirit technique is a transcendent 10th level cultivation technique. It's rare in the world, so I naturally want it. But even if you and I exchange cultivation techniques, we're still lacking one. With our current strength, it's meaningless." At the beginning, Meng Tian took the initiative to say that he cultivated the five gods flowing light technique. Then, she might not know that he also cultivated the 1,000 revolutions illusory world technique. It was true that there was a connection between cultivation techniques, but it could be hidden. Just like how Meng Tian clearly cultivated the illusory heavenly spirit technique, but Ling Shiqi did not sense it. "Don't deceive yourself anymore." Meng Tian's smile disappeared. "Since I was able to find you, I naturally came prepared. You have 2 cultivation techniques on you. If you and I exchange, we can both obtain the divine dream spirit technique. I won't let you suffer a loss. You can name your conditions." "Really? Really?" Ling Shiqi raised his eyebrows. Meng Tian's determination was quite big. Thinking about it, anyone who saw a 10th level cultivation technique in front of them would be moved. He did not suffer a loss by exchanging the 5 gods flowing light technique with Meng Tian. As for the value of the 1,000 revolutions illusory world technique, it was far more than just a high-grade cultivation technique. It would be a waste if he did not take advantage of such a business that came knocking on his door. Furthermore, the divine dream spirit technique could indeed increase his combat strength in the shortest time possible, giving him a better chance of entering the Ashen Aeon world. And his ultimate goal of entering the Ashen Aeon world was to find an opportunity to comprehend the power of the 5 elements. The Myriad Laws sect was the most powerful spiritual cultivation sect on the Starfall continent, so it definitely had a large number of 5 elemental spells. Ling Shiqi said, "It's very simple. I need some 5 elemental spells. I want every one of them. At the very least, they have to be at the 6th level." What a big appetite. Meng Tian was immediately displeased. First of all, spiritual cultivation techniques were very rare, much less those above the 6th level. Even in the Myriad Laws sect, one needed to be a successor disciple and a large number of sect contributions to be qualified to obtain them. How could they be found on the side of the road? I do have the 1,000 Revolutions illusory world art. You know the importance of this cultivation technique the best, so a mere 5 elemental spell is nothing. Ling Shiqi did not budge an inch. You. Meng Tian gritted her teeth and hesitated for a moment before saying, "I mainly cultivate illusions. Although I cultivate some 5 elemental spells, they aren't many. However, I can give you a portion of the Myriad Laws secret record." Myriad Laws secret record. That was the cornerstone cultivation technique of the Myriad Laws sect. She can even take out such a thing. Ling Shiqi exclaimed inwardly. What a good fellow. I believe you have heard of the Myriad Laws secret record. There are a large number of spiritual cultivation techniques recorded in it. I can only give you a small portion. That's all. If you are willing, then we have a deal. If you are unwilling, then forget it. Meng Tiantian's temper seemed to rise as she spoke impatiently. Deal. Ling Shiqi readily agreed. The Myriad Laws secret record was definitely something good. It definitely had 5 elemental spells. As for the grade, it probably couldn't be high. After all, it was only a small portion. As long as it had the effect of drawing parallels, it didn't matter. Then, the two exchanged 2 jade slips and got what they wanted. It could be considered a happy ending. Since it's like this, then I will take my leave. I wish Western Wasteland King success soon. Meng Tian pretended to leave. I want to ask one last question. Putting away the jade slip, Ling Shiqi turned his head and asked. Perhaps because she was about to get the divine fantasy spirit technique, Meng Tian smiled and said, Ask away. You, who are you? Meng Tiantian's face stiffened. Western Wasteland King, what do you mean? This little girl doesn't understand. I advise Western Wasteland King that there is no need to understand. Finished speaking, Meng Tiantian's figure disappeared like a bubble. Ling Shiqi's face was heavy. The transaction just now seemed to go smoothly, but it was strange everywhere. It was as if he didn't do anything and got the divine fantasy spirit technique and the Myriad Laws secret record. Moreover, it was the other party who delivered it to him. How was this a transaction? It was a free gift. How could there be such a good thing when a pie fell from the sky? It wasn't that Ling Shiqi was suspicious. As the saying goes, one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Meng Tian was definitely not as simple as she appeared. Her goal might not be just the divine fantasy spirit technique, but Ling Shiqi couldn't think of anything else. He could only be more vigilant against Meng Tian. After Meng Tian left, she crushed the 2 jade slips Ling Shiqi gave her. She had clearly spent a lot of effort to exchange for these 2 cultivation techniques. At this moment, they were like trash in his eyes. Her eyes were deep, but they shone with 9 colors. She muttered, You are quite smart. Giving you the divine fantasy spirit technique should allow you to enter the Ashen Aeon world. You are the most outstanding seed. If you can't do this, it will be too disappointing. Chapter 856. 2 days later, Ling Shiqi once again came to the martial field. He was about to welcome his second battle in the Myriad Spirit Gathering. Because he had defeated Wu Changyu a few days ago, he received a lot of cheers when he walked in today. To the most ordinary spirit cultivator, the estrangement between the imperial dynasty was not that important to them. They only knew how to respect the strong. Ling Shiqi saw his opponent, the Joyous Union sect's young master Joyous Union. At first glance, the Joyous Union sect's young master. Joyous Union was a graceful and elegant young master. However, when he looked down, he discovered that this person's chest was surging with waves. She was actually a woman. Everyone called her young master, and the report did not specifically state the gender of the other party. Leng Shiqi also thought that the Joyous Union sect's young master. Joyous Union was a man. Now that he saw her, Leng Shiqi was a little surprised. It seemed that the Joyous Union sect not only collected yin to supplement yang, but also collected yang to supplement yin. The Joyous Union sect's young master's pair of beautiful eyes seemed to have 10,000 kinds of amorous feelings. Just a casual glance was enough to make countless people fall head over heels. She sized up Leng Shiqi, and her eyes suddenly lit up as if she had seen a delicacy. Your Highness, Western Desolation King is actually still a virgin. Presumably, you still do not know how it feels. Why don't you let me help you? The Joyous Union sect's young master's face was like a peach blossom. Her eyes were filled with spring, and her voice was filled with temptation. Seeing this scene, everyone's blood began to boil. The temperature of the martial field unknowingly began to gradually rise. However, Leng Shiqi's soul formation had reached the large success stage, so he naturally ignored this little trick. He sneered and walked into the illusion array. The Joyous Union sect's young master's eyes flashed coldly as she secretly said, "You don't know what's good for you. I'll make you suffer before you submit." In the illusion array, she saw a towering Vairocana Buddha. Endless Buddhist light filled the illusion. The Joyous Union sect's young master was a demonic cultivator. She immediately felt as if her entire body was being burned, and the pain was unbearable. Immediately after, Leng Shiqi did not hesitate to make the first move. Countless 4 phases sword chi filled his body, and his body had a strange rhythm that was unfathomable. The sword chi scattered, the entire place was enveloped in a sword domain. Young Lord Joyful Union disdainfully smiled. This sort of offensive might be enough to deal with trash like Wu Changyu, but it's still far from enough to deal with me. She immediately made her move and uttered strange words. In an instant, a strange wave of energy erupted and the weather changed. Everything around her was twisting and trembling. Huan Gongzi wanted to use strength to suppress Leng Shiqi and let him know that the strength of a heavenly Yuan late-stage cultivator was invincible. Leng Shiqi's 4 phases sword chi was instantly shattered. Seeing this, young Master Huan couldn't help but smile. The unity of heaven and man realm was indeed the unity of heaven and man realm. Even if he had comprehended the power of the 4 phases, he still wouldn't be able to make up for the gap between the heaven and man realm late stage. A sword intense soared into the sky. The 4 Taoist swords of earth, water, wind, and fire stood in the air. Behind Leng Shiqi, the violent power of the 4 Taoist swords rushed forward. All the spiritual energy in this space was pushed aside, making it impossible to dodge. The 4 elements sword Dao erupted with all its strength, causing young Master Concord's complexion to change. Not bad. No wonder Wu Changyu took the initiative to admit defeat. You do have the strength to do so. Young Lord Joyful Union took a step forward. Boundless mysterious divine light appeared around her body as the world of pure bliss descended. Here, countless fairies danced gracefully. It was a soul-stirring beauty. Their clothes didn't even cover their bodies. As they danced, spring light flooded the area. Decadent sounds that made one unable to extricate themselves surrounded them. Leng Shiqi seemed to be about to fall, and the power of the 4 elements behind him began to waver. Men really are all the same. Young Lord Joyful Union's strength erupted. The 9 heavens goddesses' Dharma idol appeared, but this 9 heavens goddesses' clothes were half undone. Then, she slapped down with her palm. The surrounding wind and clouds surged, and thunder exploded. Leng Shiqi's figure was about to be submerged under this terrifying palm. However, while young Lord Joyful Union was displaying her might, she didn't know that there was another Leng Shiqi coldly watching from the sidelines. Or rather, this was the real Leng Shiqi. At this moment, a 9-colored light appeared in his eyes, and a majestic divine soul emerged. The target of young Lord Joyful Union's bombardment was, in fact, a mass of air. In fact, when young Lord Joyful Union entered the illusory array set up by the Northern Wei Empire, she had already fallen into Leng Shiqi's illusion. 9th rank illusion technique, Illusory Sky. This was a high-level illusion technique recorded in the Divine Illusion Spirit Art. By setting up an illusory dreamland, as long as the caster's mental strength was high enough, even a profound comprehending realm powerhouse could fall for it. Leng Shiqi's divine soul was very powerful, and young Lord Joyful Union cultivated a devil art that went against the heavens, so her mental strength was not particularly stable. In addition, Leng Shiqi had a cultivation method that could restrain devil arts, causing young Lord Joyful Union to fall into the illusion without knowing it. This battle seemed strange and ridiculous in the eyes of the people outside. From the beginning, Leng Shiqi had not moved at all, while young Lord Joyful Union was like a madman, talking to himself and fighting a battle of wits and courage with the air, while bombarding an empty place. From time to time, he would let out a strange laugh, which confused the people watching. They thought that young Lord Joyful Union might have gone mad. Only those heavenly origin stage powerhouses had heavy expressions. They could see that young Lord Joyful Union had fallen into an illusion. Even before the battle began, he had fallen into it. What kind of powerful illusion was this? Meng Tian had also won the previous battle with an illusion, which made them somewhat afraid of Meng Tian. However, Leng Shiqi had clearly defeated Wu Changyu with the 4 phases Sword Dao, and this battle revealed an even more terrifying illusion technique than Meng Tian's. Young Lord Joyful Union was a genuine heavenly origin late-stage powerhouse, and was also the sect leader of Joyful Union sect. He had countless secret techniques, yet he was played by Leng Shiqi from beginning to end. What was the upper limit of his strength? If they were the ones fighting Leng Shiqi, would they have the confidence to resist such a powerful illusion technique? Some people were confident, but most of them knew that they would not be able to stop it. At this moment, Leng Shiqi had become a huge obstacle in their hearts. They were not surprised by the result. After they saw that young Lord Joyful Union had fallen into an illusion, they already knew the result of the battle. Leng Shiqi obviously still had some strength left while maintaining the illusion. Young Lord Joyful Union was full of flaws. As long as Leng Shiqi used the 4 phases Sword Dao, he could win at any time. He did not do so because he wanted to show the world his strength. But in fact, they were wrong. Although Leng Shiqi had the help of the system and cultivated the 9th-step illusion technique, Illusory Dream Sky, to the perfection stage overnight, his opponent this time was far stronger than what outsiders could see. In order to keep young Lord Joyful Union in the illusion, he had done his best. Without exposing his full strength, he could only use ordinary spiritual skills. In that case, not only would he not be able to defeat young Lord Joyful Union, but he would also give young Lord Joyful Union a chance to escape from the illusory dream sky. Therefore, he did not make a move. He did not expect that such an action would make others mistakenly think that he was pretending. It was not until Leng Shiqi's soul power was about to be exhausted that he ended the illusion. When young Lord Joyful Union came back to his senses, his eyes were filled with horror. At the same time, he felt extremely humiliated. It would have been fine if he had been defeated in a head-on battle, but he had been fooled by Leng Shiqi for a long time. Leng Shiqi had even stepped on his face to awe the world. Naturally, he hated Leng Shiqi to the bone. King of the Western Wilderness, today's humiliation will be returned in the future. Young Lord Joyful Union left behind a ruthless sentence and left the arena. Leng Shiqi shrugged his shoulders indifferently. The two of them were in the Starfall Dynasty and Thunderblaze Dynasty respectively. They might never meet again in the future. By winning this battle, Leng Shiqi would enter the top 9 in the Tian Yuan realm. As long as he won another battle, he would definitely obtain the qualifications to enter the Ashen Yuan realm. Chapter 857. Lu Xingji was born in Huaxia City X. His parents were both teachers and gave him the name Xingji. Presumably, he would become a teacher in the future. His upbringing was very strict and he was bound by many rules from a young age. Growing up in such an environment, he gradually developed an introverted personality. From a young age, he didn't have many good friends around him and his personality became more and more introverted. During puberty, he didn't experience the so-called rebellious period and was a good child in the eyes of his parents. However, when he became an adult, he began to rebel. He didn't follow his parents' wishes and became a teacher. Instead, he was admitted to a public office. At first, his parents were furious. Lu Xingji didn't say a word in the face of their anger and let them beat and scold him. It was only under the persuasion of his relatives and friends that they reluctantly gave up. Public office and teaching were both secure jobs, so there was nothing wrong with it. However, his relationship with his parents became much colder from then on. With Lu Xingji's personality, he ran into a wall in public office. He could only do some tiring and miscellaneous work that didn't give him a chance to perform. His original life might have been like this, but one day, he fell in love with a girl. However, that girl's identity was noble and far from being worthy of a small office worker like him. From then on, Lu Xingji changed. Up until now, he had never lived for himself. He wanted to live for himself once and pursue the person he loved. Even if he failed, he had a great time. He began to try to learn how to communicate and slowly participated in various activities, parties, and drinking parties. He had never drunk before and found that his alcohol tolerance was far beyond ordinary people. Slowly, he formed a consensus with the colleagues around him. His work became smoother and smoother, and he became more tactful. In just a few years, he sat in a position that took others more than 10 years to fight for. Unfortunately, that girl couldn't be with him in the end. To Leng Shiqi's surprise, he wasn't that sad. His heart had become much more complicated and the word love had become dispensable. His life seemed to be quite good. Although he had experienced many twists and turns, at least now he could be considered a successful person. It seemed that God didn't have eyes. Lu Xingji's health deteriorated due to frequent drinking until he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. After receiving the diagnosis, Lu Xingji first sighed and then smiled. He directly resigned from public office and didn't contact his parents. He took all his savings and began to travel around. Up until now, he had never left City X except for business trips. Huaxia was so big, and he wanted to see it for himself. At the same time, it was rare for him to relax and become interested in all kinds of literature on the internet. Half a year later, Lu Xingji passed away in an ordinary town. In this life, he did not leave behind any trace. He had once hated, and had once struggled to survive. He was used to the mutual deception between people, and was used to the injustice of the world. In fact, in the end, he would only turn into a handful of yellow soil. However, not long after, he opened his eyes again. At this moment, he was already on Blood Mist Island. Shua! Leng Shiqi woke up from his dream again. In his dream, he saw his past life. Ever since he came to this world, he had never thought about his past life because there was nothing worth remembering. Most importantly, he had fallen asleep again at some point and even dreamed of his previous life. Not long ago, Leng Shiqi had defeated young Master He Huan using an illusion technique. At this time, he had fallen into a deep sleep. However, Leng Shiqi knew that he had not fallen into an illusion technique. Rather than calling the dream an illusion, it would be better to call it an awakening of his memories. Last time, it was the memory of this body. This time, it was the memory of his past life. Something's wrong. Leng Shiqi suddenly realized that something was wrong. In this life, his body originally belonged to that young man, but his soul came from Earth. Even if someone was secretly awakening the memory of his past life, it should be the memory of the young man's past life, not his past life's memory. What the hell is going on? Who was it that was secretly causing trouble? For some reason, Leng Shiqi suddenly thought of Ozu's words. His Tianji had disappeared in the north. After he came to the Northern Wei Empire, there were indeed many accidents and unforeseen events. He had taken the initiative to create havoc in the Blood Beast sect and kill Xie Pengyu and Tian Qisheng. However, in the process, he had encountered the mysterious beast sovereign. The Blood Beast sect was also full of secrets. After that, someone had tampered with him. Meng Tian had also inexplicably delivered the divine fantasy spirit technique and 10,000 methods secret record to him. All of this was full of strangeness. Ling Shiqi could not help but feel a trace of worry. Could it be that the Northern Wei Empire was really his burial ground? He suddenly shook his head. He felt that he could not be disturbed like this anymore. He thought about it carefully. What were the similarities between the two times he entered the dream? In the few days between the two dreams, Ling Shiqi had been cultivating in his room and did not go out. After today's battle, this situation happened after he returned. Thinking of this, Ling Shiqi's eyes flashed. It seemed that as long as he stayed here, nothing would happen. Every time he appeared, he would be tampered with. Now, it seemed that this was very likely. Ling Shiqi guessed that it was very likely that it was someone from the Nether Temple. The strange thing was, why was the other party trying to awaken his memory? It's too passive to always be like this. I have to use some methods to force them out. Ling Shiqi's eyes narrowed, flashing with a dangerous light. 3 days later, the second round of the competition ended. There were only 9 people left in the Heaven Origin region. There were 3 people from each of the 3 empires. Xian Haoying, who was at the pinnacle of the Heaven Origin region, was naturally there. What shocked everyone was that Ling Shiqi and Meng Tian, who were at the Unity of Heaven and Man stage, were also in the top 9. The Northern Wei Empire's 3 people were Fairy Luoying, sect leader of the Big Dipper sect, Kong Jianba, and sect leader of the Imperial Beast Abode, Luo Lu. The first 2 were at the pinnacle of the Heaven Origin region, while Luo Lu was at the late stage of the Heaven Origin region. In other words, the late stage of the Heaven Origin region was the lowest standard. Looking at it this way, Ling Shiqi and Meng Tian were truly monstrous geniuses. Some people could not help but sigh. The 2 of them were from the Thunderblaze Empire. It was obvious that the Thunderblaze Empire was going to prosper. In the next round, regardless of whether they won or lost, they would be famous throughout the world. As for Meng Tiantian's victory, Ling Shiqi had already expected it, and his next opponent had also been determined. It was the Northern Wei Empire's Big Dipper sect leader, Kong Jianba. Not only was he at the pinnacle of the Heaven Origin region, but his physical strength was also incomparably strong. He was known as the #1 body cultivator in the world. He had once killed a rank 7 great demon with a single punch, shocking countless people. The most frightening thing about demonic beasts was their powerful bodies. However, Kong Jianba had crushed him in this aspect. Ling Shiqi felt a headache when he found out that his opponent was Kong Jianba. Kong Jianba was a body cultivator, so his mental strength was definitely not strong. He could use illusions to win. However, he had already used illusions to deal with Prince Hehuan, so Kong Jianba would definitely be on guard. This battle would not be easy. Chapter 858. However, even if they lost this battle, they still had a chance. There were a total of 9 people, and 5 of them had the qualifications to enter the Ashen Aeon realm. The rules set by the Northern Wei Empire was that 1 person would be given a bye, while the other 8 would fight in pairs. The winner would directly obtain the qualifications to enter the Ashen Aeon realm. As for the loser, they would fight for the last spot in the arena. The loser was the sect master of the Imperial Beast Abode, Luo Lu. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the Northern Wei Empire wanted to protect Luo Lu. Luo Lu's cultivation level was the lowest among the remaining 3 people from the Northern Wei Empire. If he were to fight with Xian Haoying or the Starfall Empire's Duke Qi, he would definitely lose. If he were to fight with the loser for a spot, even if it was a 1 in 5 fight, his chances would be higher. Among the 9 people, Xian Haoying, Duke Qi, Fairy Luoying, and Kong Jianba were all at the peak of the Heaven Origin realm. The 4 of them did not encounter each other, so it was certain that they would enter the Ashen Aeon realm. As for the last spot, the competition was the most intense. The next day was also the last day of the Myriad Spirit Gathering. Apart from the Heaven Origin realm, the battles for the other realms would end at the same time. There were more than 100 low-level spirit cultivators who could be listed on the Northern Wei Empire's mortal ranking. In fact, it was the same as the Thunderblaze Empire's hidden dragon ranking. They were all young geniuses. The winners of the Spirit Pulse Realm and Spirit Aperture Realm could obtain large amounts of cultivation resources. Those at the Spirit Astral Realm and Heaven Man Unity Realm could receive guidance from Heaven Origin Realm experts. Only the top 5 of the Heaven Origin Realm had the qualifications to enter the Ashen Aeon Realm. The Ashen Aeon Realm was left behind by the Ashen Aeon Sword Sage. Apart from the Northern Wei Empire's upper echelons, no one knew what was inside. Therefore, the entire world's attention was focused on the arena today. Even the Thunderblaze Empire and the Starfall Empire, which were countless miles away, were paying attention to the outcome. After entering the arena, Xian Haoying patted Leng Shiqi's shoulder and said earnestly, "You defeated Wu Changyu and young Master Concord. Your name has already spread far and wide. Relax your mentality. It's a rare opportunity to fight with a peak Heaven Origin Realm expert." "I understand." Leng Shiqi nodded humbly. Xian Haoying liked Leng Shiqi's temperament very much. The outside world said that he was arrogant and domineering. After getting along with him for a few days, she felt that although Leng Shiqi's temperament was a little strange, all masters had their own temperament. Moreover, Leng Shiqi was very reasonable and was not as bad as others said. Ever since Leng Shiqi participated in the Myriad Spirit Gathering, no one thought highly of him. This was very similar to Meng Tian. On the other hand, the two of them were killing all the Sky Origin stage cultivators one after another. Everybody was shocked by what they had seen. Before Leng Shiqi fought with Wu Changyu, everyone thought that he would lose miserably, but in the end, he won. It was the same when he fought with young Master He Huan, and he won again. Today, even if everyone still thought that he could not defeat the Heavenly Dipper sect master, Kong Jianba, they still had a trace of hope in their hearts. What if he won again? Therefore, there were people who opened a bet on Leng Shiqi outside and bet on him to win. If Leng Shiqi knew about this, he would definitely praise this person for being a true warrior, because even he did not have any chance of winning. Unless he used all his strength, he had no hope of defeating Kong Jianba. Just as Xian Haoying said, he could treat Kong Jianba as an excellent sparring partner. This kind of opportunity was not easy to come by. As for the qualification to enter the Ashen Origin world, he planned to snatch it from the arena. The first match of the day was between Fairy Luo Ying and a Sky Origin stage cultivator from the Starfall dynasty. The result could only be described with one word: easy victory. Fairy Luo Ying easily defeated her opponent in 2 or 3 moves. In the Northern Wei dynasty, as long as the legendary Mystic Enlightening Realm cultivators did not make a move, no one would dare to claim to be first if she said that she was second. Such a powerful beauty was the most attractive. The hundreds of thousands of spirit cultivators in the arena became her admirers. The second match was Leng Shiqi's turn. After entering the illusion, Kong Jianba was the first to speak. "The younger generation will surpass us in time. Don't say that I am bullying the younger generation. As long as you can injure me in the slightest, it will be your victory." If someone else had said this, they would have thought that he was underestimating his opponent. However, the person who said this was Kong Jianba. He was the number 1 body cultivator in the world. Not only did he have the strength to break through the void, but his physical defense was also invincible. There were not many people in the world who could injure him. Kong Jianba formed a strange seal with his hands. His body suddenly expanded a few times, and the ground beneath his feet shattered inch by inch. His skin also turned into a bronze color, and an enormous aura, like that of a mountain, assaulted the face of everyone present. The phantom of a giant mountain appeared, covering the sky and the sun. Its might was boundless. One of the ultimate techniques of the Heavenly Dipper sect, Lofty Mountain Seal. The Lofty Mountain Seal is known as the strongest defensive spiritual technique in the Falling Star continent. With Kong Jianba's cultivation at the peak of the Sky Origin realm, no one can injure him unless it is a Tongxian realm cultivator. However, after using the Lofty Mountain Seal, his body will turn into a mountain, and his consciousness will be mostly sealed. I understand. He knows that Leng Shiqi's illusion technique is extremely strong, and is not weaker than Meng Tiantian's. Kong Jianba knows that his mental strength is his weakness. It would be better for him to seal a part of his consciousness and not give Leng Shiqi a chance. That's right. Leng Shiqi can't injure him at all. As long as he can land a punch on Leng Shiqi, victory and defeat will be decided. Leng Shiqi's expression did not change. The Buddhist light around his body shone brightly, and the Vajra unbreakable divine art was displayed. At the moment when the Buddha's light shone, an evil demonic aura rose up. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a six-armed, two-winged demon. He was half demon and half Buddha. It was extremely evil. The aura around his body rose again and again, completely surpassing the limits of the unity of heaven and man realm. Not only that, Leng Shiqi's mind moved. Suddenly, boundless netherworld Qi rose up in the illusion, and a heavenly gate of hell appeared faintly under the encirclement of countless evil spirits. The gate of hell. Immediately, all of the 9 underworlds' power gathered on Leng Shiqi's body, condensing into an evil spirit's heavy armor. Evil, devil, demon, Buddha, and other completely different powers fused together perfectly on his body. Seeing this scene, the spirit cultivators and the sky origin realm cultivators in the martial arts field were all shocked. This Leng Shiqi had been hiding his strength until now. Leng Shiqi suddenly punched out. The terrifying fist intent stirred the void, and a soaring domineering aura filled the heaven and earth, looking down on the world. Kong Jianba crossed his arms and closed his eyes slightly. He did not seem to have any intention of fighting back or dodging. He actually wanted to take this punch head-on. Boom! The tyrant's barrier's fist force landed solidly on Kong Jianba's body. A powerful wave was suddenly emitted, causing the illusion to be distorted to a certain extent. However, what shocked everyone was that Kong Jianba was unscathed. He stood in the same spot without moving an inch, and that terrifying fist energy didn't even move a single hair on his body. For words appeared in everyone's mind: invincible physical body. Chapter 859. In the Northern Wei Empire, people often heard that Kong Jianba had an invincible body. However, very few people were able to see him in action, so people did not have a concrete idea of what he was talking about. Today, they finally understood what it meant to have an invincible body. Kong Jianba had only used 1 punch and 2 punches to end the previous 2 battles, letting everyone know how terrifying his strength was. Now that they saw how terrifying his defense was, such a person was too abnormal. Leng Shiqi's punch was not weak. Wu Changyu's expression changed when he saw this punch because if he were to face it, he would not be able to withstand it at all. However, this punch did not even shake Kong Jianba's mountain seal. It was clear that Kong Jianba's defense was rare in the world. What was even more abnormal was that even if you hit him, you would not be able to move him. If he hit you, you would either die or be crippled. How could you fight him? This was the strength of a body cultivator. The eyes of many disciples of the Heavenly Dipper sect lit up. Your body is quite strong. It's a pity that you did not enter my Heavenly Dipper sect. Otherwise, I would definitely nurture you. Are you using Xiahou Ba's 3 forms of the Tyrant Fist? He was also a body cultivator, but unfortunately, he took the wrong path. Kong Jianba spoke in the tone of a senior talking to a junior. It was as if Xiahou Ba, who was guarding a region, was nothing in his eyes. Leng Shiqi held the 1000 illusion Dao sword and split it into 4. The sword Dao of the 4 elements of earth, water, wind, and fire appeared. At the same time, the surrounding mountain range moved horizontally, flames surged, waves surged, and gales rose everywhere. The sharp sword intent and the violent power of the 4 elements surrounded and suppressed Kong Jianba. This time, Kong Jianba remained motionless. He only let out a muffled sound from his mouth. This sound seemed to have triggered some strange power, causing countless lights to appear around his body. All the sword chi and various other powers melted away like clay oxen entering the sea, disappearing without a trace. As expected, it's still not enough. Leng Shiqi sighed inwardly. In fact, after the first attack, he had already noticed that Kong Jianba was not only physically strong. Although the human body had infinite possibilities, it was increasingly difficult to increase the strength of the body towards the end. Leng Shiqi himself had also cultivated a body refining technique, but it had been a long time since he had made any progress. The reason why Kong Jianba's body was so powerful was because Leng Shiqi had sensed a faint trace of the law of earth. The law of weight within the law of earth. He could attack if he advanced, and defend if he retreated. This meant that Kong Jianba had actually begun to touch the edge of the metaphysical realm. Therefore, Leng Shiqi knew very well that if he did not use the power of law, he would not be able to defeat Kong Jianba. If this was just a pure competition, it wouldn't be a big deal for him to reveal some of his moves. However, he didn't know how many pairs of eyes were watching him from behind, so he couldn't reveal too much of his strength. However, Leng Shiqi's fighting spirit surged. Where could he find such a good human punching bag? A wisp of crimson gold flame suddenly erupted from Leng Shiqi's body. This was the crimson gold earth dragon flame, which everyone already knew. However, a bolt of lightning came crashing down from the 9 heavens, merging with the crimson gold earth dragon flames to form a thunder flame dragon that was hundreds of feet long. That's the flaming thunderbolt Yang Manual. The old man exclaimed. Xian Haoying and Shui Liuli also stood up, their surprise no less than the old man's. The flaming thunderbolt Yang Manual was a cultivation technique that only the members of the Thunderbolt dynasty's royal family could cultivate. Only those with extraordinary talent were qualified to cultivate it. The number of members of the royal family who cultivated this cultivation technique could be counted on one hand. How did Leng Shiqi obtain this cultivation technique? Of course, he obtained this cultivation technique from his soul clone, Lei Haoyan. Leng Shiqi possessed the crimson gold earth dragon flame, so cultivating this cultivation technique was twice the result with half the effort. He could also fully unleash the power of the crimson gold earth dragon flame. A dragon's roar reverberated throughout the world as the thunder flame dragon descended with a terrifying killing intent. Unfortunately, the thunder flame dragon rushed into the strange brilliance, but it still did not cause any ripples. Leng Shiqi pointed out a finger, and a dreamlike bubble appeared. Just one look at it would cause one to unconsciously become immersed in it. Grand Dream Thousand Autumn Finger. In the end, those beautiful bubbles were dissolved by the light like bubbles. Is that enough? What's the point if you can't even break through my defensive divine light? Kong Jianba said coldly. Leng Shiqi did not say a word. His 4 arms formed seals at the same time, and the 4 elements' true spirits appeared. Waves of origin energy fluctuated, and the 4 elements formation diagram slowly formed. Seeing this, Kong Jianba's expression finally became somewhat serious. The 4 elements formation diagram slowly descended, causing the origin energy in this world to boil. Other than the people of the Thunderbolt dynasty, the other experts were all astonished. The 4 elements formation diagram actually contained the power of heaven and earth. For a spirit cultivator at the unity of heaven and man stage to be able to comprehend such a level of power, it was simply overturning their previous knowledge. Buzz! The 4 elements formation diagram and the divine light intertwined, causing the illusory space to violently tremble a few times. Following a soft sound, Kong Jianba's defensive divine light was finally broken. But even so, the power of the 4 elements formation diagram was almost exhausted. The remaining power was not even enough to tickle Kong Jianba. Following that, palm techniques, fist techniques, spear techniques, seal techniques. Leng Shiqi used all the spiritual techniques that he was proficient in, but in the end, he could not even force Kong Jianba to take a step back. The divine light behind Leng Shiqi shone brightly, and the power of his divine spirit was pushed to the extreme. The golden power of his divine spirit dyed half the sky. His 6 arms turned into a series of afterimages, countless hand seals flew, and streaks of spirit arts whistled out. In the sky, stars dotted the sky, and on the ground, several arrays appeared, and endless streams of light shuttled back and forth. In an instant, everyone in the illusory space could only see spells that blotted out the sky and covered the sun. Many people directly covered their mouths to prevent themselves from crying out. Not to mention anything else, Just this array of attacks made people feel as if it was the end of the world. Of course, in the eyes of the experts, they could see that most of the spells were low to mid-grade spiritual techniques, and there was no threat at all. They were also very shocked, and they were surprised that they suddenly realized that Ling Shiqi seemed to know everything. Swordsmanship, illusions, body refinement, and spells were all proficient. As the saying went, greedy but not proficient. In fact, the higher one's cultivation level, the more one would want to specialize in a certain type of power. For example, the old man specialized in thunder techniques, and Xue Liuli was a water cultivator. Another example was Ling Shiqi's opponent at the moment, an expert who had cultivated his body refinement to the extreme, Kong Jianba. While everyone was shocked, they were also puzzled. How could Ling Shiqi have so many talents, and how could he have so much time to cultivate? One had to know that it took a lot of time to cultivate a certain high-level spiritual technique, and Ling Shiqi had displayed countless spiritual techniques so far. Was he still human? However, when the countless spells landed on Kong Jianba's body, they still could not break through his physical defense. Kong Jianba's heart was in turmoil, but as time passed, he became impatient. This was because he saw that Ling Shiqi seemed to have the intention of pestering him, and used all his spiritual techniques, as if he was determined to make him suffer. Kong Jianba saw that Ling Shiqi was about to run out of tricks, and was about to find an opportunity to counterattack to end this boring battle. However, at some point, Ling Shiqi's eyes became misty, and the spells that filled the sky were only left with the 5 elements. A mysterious aura pervaded his body, and with a wave of his hands, he activated the 5 elements in the sky, stirring up heaven and earth. In an instant, 5 huge rings of different colors condensed in midair, and slowly rotated. Chapter 860. The moment the 5 rings were formed, all the energy within a few hundred miles of the arena surged madly. Spiritual qi, elemental energy, origin energy, and even a trace of the laws of heaven and earth. Kong Jianba actually felt a great threat at this moment. He stomped his feet, and an earth dragon flipped over. The vigorous earth energy stirred up the illusion realm. He could not sit and watch Ling Shiqi complete this spiritual technique. Otherwise, he might really lose. Ling Shiqi's eyes shone brightly as he threw a bracelet into the air. It was the bracelet of the minor 5 elements Chaos Grotto Heaven. The people from the Thunderblaze dynasty immediately recognized it. They were even more puzzled. Why would the minor 5 elements Chaos Grotto Heaven be in Ling Shiqi's hands? However, something that shocked and horrified these people immediately happened. Ling Shiqi clenched his fist, and the bracelet shattered. 5 streams of colorful light scattered, and a heart-palpitating energy fluctuation trembled. Xian Haoying, old man, and the others almost vomited blood. Ling Shiqi actually destroyed the minor 5 elements Chaos Grotto Heaven. That was the treasure of the Thunderblaze dynasty. There were only a few treasures that could form their own worlds in the entire Starfall continent. Ling Shiqi destroyed it without even blinking. They were not thinking about how Ling Shiqi could obtain the minor 5 elements Chaos Grotto Heaven. Instead, they were dumbfounded. The multicolored light connected with the 5 rings, slowly forming a huge 5-colored ring. The moment the 5-colored ring was formed, it was as if a miraculous power that could seize the heavens and earth appeared. Then, the shock in everyone's eyes suddenly disappeared. Pfft! On the stage, Ling Shiqi and Kong Jianba vomited blood at the same time. The difference was that Kong Jianba only had a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, while Ling Shiqi vomited a large amount of blood. His body also swayed a few times as if he was on the verge of collapsing. Everyone in the arena was stunned. What was going on? Just a moment ago, the fight was still going well. Now, there was nothing left. The 2 people on the stage even vomited blood. Who won? All the cultivators who were at the one with the world level and above were astonished, including Fairy Luoying and High Duke Qi, who were at the peak of the heavenly origin stage. Others might not be able to see it, but they could. The reason for this was because the illusion had been shattered. The illusory realm set up by the Northern Wei Empire was very meticulous. It was able to maintain the fluctuations caused by a battle between profound penetration realm experts, but now, it had been shattered. And it was broken by Ling Shiqi, a spirit cultivator at the unity of heaven and man realm. Their only thought was that it was impossible. Most importantly, they didn't know how Ling Shiqi did it. In the end, they did see the five-colored ring, and they did feel a strange power, but that power flashed and disappeared, and then the illusion collapsed. What happened inside? As for Ling Shiqi and Kong Jianba, it was quite normal for them to vomit blood. They had been using their spiritual power to fight in the illusion. When the illusion suddenly collapsed, they would definitely be injured by the backlash of their spiritual power. It was reasonable to say that Ling Shiqi's soul had already been formed, so he shouldn't have been more injured than Kong Jianba. In fact, he was more affected by the backlash of the five elements. In his battle with Kong Jianba, he had used almost all of his spiritual techniques. This was something that had never happened before. Unknowingly, he seemed to have grasped a trace of enlightenment. Especially when he used the five elements technique, he could already vaguely see what he was looking for. But it was also somewhat illusory. Thus, he decisively detonated the minor five elements chaos paradise, staking everything on one throw, drawing the pure five elements force within, wanting to succeed in one fell swoop. This was an unprecedented opportunity for him. Perhaps it could be called an epiphany. Unfortunately, just as he was about to succeed, the illusion collapsed. His spiritual power was violently expelled, and the five elements force that was close to him suddenly attacked him, causing great damage to his soul. It was all for naught. Ling Shiqi didn't know if he should be happy or sad. If he hadn't fought with Kong Jianba in the illusion, he wouldn't have had the chance to experience this rare epiphany. After all, the illusion was just an illusory array. It couldn't withstand the power of the five elements ring and collapsed. This caused Ling Shiqi to fail at the last step. In this attempt, he had ruthlessly destroyed the minor five elements chaotic paradise. Without it, it would be extremely difficult for him to comprehend the power of the five elements. Fortunately, he had already touched upon a trace of the five elements force, so it wasn't a loss. He swallowed a few pills that nourished his spiritual power and got up to leave. He had lost this match, so he needed to recuperate as soon as possible to prepare for the last spot in the Ashen Aeon world. At this moment, Kong Jianba said something, causing Ling Shiqi to stop in his tracks. It also shocked all the spirit cultivators in the arena. I lost. Ling Shiqi was puzzled. He hadn't been able to injure Kong Jianba without exposing his full strength. If he had succeeded in the five elements ring, he would naturally be able to do so. Unfortunately, he failed to do so. If he lost, he lost. What did Kong Jianba mean by this? You hurt me. Kong Jianba wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The power you use doesn't seem to be fully controlled. Even so, it can still destroy the illusion. The power that can destroy the illusion is enough to injure me, or even seriously injure me. Therefore, I lost. When everyone heard this, it seemed to be true. Only Ling Shiqi knew that the barely formed five elements ring was something he had just comprehended. Everyone seemed to mistakenly think that he was hiding his strength. This was also good. It saved him another round of battle. However, Ling Shiqi admired Kong Jianba's magnanimity. Logically speaking, the higher one's cultivation level and status, the more they cared about reputation and face. Kong Jianba publicly admitted that he had lost to someone at the Heaven-Man Unity realm. It would definitely affect his reputation, but he still admitted it calmly. Just this magnanimity alone far exceeded many people. Therefore, Ling Shiqi cupped his hands and said, Sect Lord Kong's divine strength is unparalleled. If we were to fight normally, I wouldn't be your match. I was the one who boasted. I have to admit defeat. Besides, even if I lose, I believe we will still meet in the Ashen Aeon world. Kong Jianba smiled confidently and walked off the stage. It was only at this moment that the others reacted. Kong Jianba had actually admitted defeat. This Ling Shiqi must be poisonous. His first opponent had admitted defeat when he saw him use the four-element sword Dao. His second opponent, young Master Hehuan, had also left after leaving the illusory sky. Now that it was Kong Jianba's turn, he had taken the initiative to admit defeat. Is there some kind of curse on Leng Shiqi? Everyone who fought with him would admit defeat on their own? No, this isn't a curse. It's the lucky halo. While everyone was still immersed in shock and intense discussion, the next opponent walked onto the stage. They were Duke Qi from the Starfall dynasty and Meng Tian from the Myriad Law's mystic sect. However, the illusion array had been destroyed by Leng Shiqi. A few array formation masters were sweating profusely as they repaired it, but they soon gave up. Repairing an illusion array was not something that could be done in a day or two. From the looks of it, the final few battles would have to be postponed. The onlookers were naturally unhappy. The outcome of the battle between Leng Shiqi and Kong Jianba was very surprising, but the process was still dazzling. Leng Shiqi's strength had once again convinced everyone. At this moment, someone from the Northern Wei dynasty walked up and said, "Everyone, you have seen the situation. I'm afraid the battle will be..." Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Duke Qi. "There's no need to postpone it. I admit defeat in this battle." Hua! The arena was drowned out by countless exclamations. Chapter 861. Everyone in the arena had interesting expressions, including Kong Jianba and Leng Shiqi, who had just left the arena. Leng Shiqi originally planned on seeing how Meng Tian would deal with Duke Qi. On the surface, there was a difference of an entire realm between their cultivation levels. He wondered what trump cards Meng Tian had. However, High Duke Qi admitted defeat without even fighting. Leng Shiqi and Kong Jianba had fought for a while. Although it was Leng Shiqi who was fighting, they had at least fought. Most importantly, why did Duke Qi admit defeat? The two of them had nothing to do with each other unless there was some unspeakable deal between them. Leng Shiqi wasn't the only one who thought of this. Many people had the same thought. Everyone looked at Meng Tian, who was pretty but not considered a peerless beauty. Her looks shouldn't be enough to make an important figure like Duke Qi submit. They couldn't figure out what benefits Meng Tian had to make Duke Qi lose face and lose the right to enter the Ashen Aeon realm. Wait. He still has a chance, but... Leng Shiqi looked at Kong Jianba. At that moment, Kong Jianba's expression didn't look good. Duke Qi's admission of defeat meant that the two peak Heavenly Origin realm cultivators would have to compete for the last spot. To Kong Jianba, the matter that was in the bag suddenly became 50-50. On the other hand, one of the two peak Heavenly Origin realm cultivators would definitely not be able to enter the Ashen Aeon realm. This was a little too dramatic. Leng Shiqi pursed his lips. It was certain that Meng Tian had made a deal with Duke Qi. It wasn't appropriate for the Northern Wei dynasty to interfere. Although this violated the rules of the Myriad Spirit Meet, who would dare criticize Duke Qi? He was the Duke of the strongest dynasty on the continent. Ignoring his peak Heavenly Origin realm cultivation, his status alone was enough to make anyone dare offend him. Not even the Northern Wei dynasty's emperor. In terms of national strength, the Starfall dynasty was several times stronger than the Northern Wei dynasty. Even if the Northern Wei dynasty had more guts, they wouldn't dare criticize Duke Qi. They wouldn't dare disqualify him from continuing the competition. Perhaps this was the reason why Meng Tian wanted to make a deal with Duke Qi. State Duke Qi was probably planning to fight against the loser to win the final spot, but he didn't expect that Kong Jianba would be defeated. Both of them were at the peak of the Sky Origin stage. None of them were sure that they could win. What made Leng Shiqi even more concerned was that Kong Jianba had admitted defeat, but Duke Qi had still admitted defeat. It was obvious that the benefits Meng Tian had given him were beyond his imagination. It was even more attractive than entering the Ashen Aeon realm. Otherwise, Duke Qi wouldn't have admitted defeat even if he had to break the contract. The All Spirits Gathering, which was supposed to end today, had to be postponed temporarily due to an accident. Kong Jianba and Duke Qi's successive surrenders also caused a huge uproar. However, after the initial shock, everyone was looking forward to the duel between the two. Since the beginning of the All-Spirit Gathering, there had never been a fight between top-level Sky Origin stage cultivators. It was so exciting. Not to mention the All-Spirits Gathering, even in the entire world, there were very few top-level Sky Origin stage battles. Usually, if Tongxian Realm cultivators did not appear, Sky Origin Realm Pinnacle stage cultivators would be the strongest. Even if they encountered each other, they would not easily make a move. This was because any top-level Sky Origin stage cultivator had too many factions and connections. If there was any mishap, the consequences would be immeasurable. It was the same for Leng Shiqi. That was a topic for the future. His current priority was not here. Today, he had made a move in front of everyone again. The person hiding in the dark had probably done something. He wanted to see if he would still be dreaming today. Right on the heels of that, Leng Shiqi waved his arm. Immediately, a cold wind blew in the room as several ghost slaves with powerful auras appeared. These ghost slaves were transformed from Sky Origin Realm cultivators. They were Sword Supremacy Thousand Illusion, Zhuizhou, Sword Monarch Startling Dragon, Supremacy Divine Firmament, Heavenly Master Rain, Tian Qisheng, and Xia Pengyu. 7 famous Sky Origin Realm cultivators had turned into ghost slaves after their deaths and were controlled by Leng Shiqi. He made a few hand seals, and the auras of the 7 ghost slaves suddenly disappeared. They were originally formless. Now that they did not release their auras, no one would know that they were in the room. Leng Shiqi's order was to observe everything around them. In addition, they were to record everything in the room to see if they could find any clues. Then, a netherworld crack opened in front of Leng Shiqi, and Nine Leaf walked out. She said with a serious expression, "Even with your abilities, you could still be silently tampered with. The other party's methods are rarely seen in the world. This time, I will protect you. I want to see who is causing trouble in the dark." Nine Leaf was the one that Leng Shiqi had asked for help. Nine Leaf still owed him half a favor last time, so she came without a second word. With the 7 ghost slaves and 9 Leaves' protection, if they still could not discover the situation, it would be very troublesome. 9 Leaf heard that the Gu King had concealed all of her aura. Leng Shiqi closed his eyes and began to repair his soul. Time seemed to pass very quickly, but it also seemed to pass very slowly. Unknowingly, Leng Shiqi's soul suddenly fluctuated violently. 9 Leaf, who was secretly observing, was moved. It really came. At the end of the endless desert, there was a huge mountain that went straight to the sky. On top of it stood a tall figure. This person looked up at the sky. There was no sadness or joy in his eyes, as if he could see through the past and present. At this moment, a strange person walked up from behind him. He was strange because this person's face was actually split into 2. Half of it was a human face. It looked somewhat handsome, but the other half was a ferocious beast face. The strange person knelt on the ground and said in a pious tone, "Lord Shifter Emperor, that person seems to have failed." The person called Shifter Emperor did not speak. He continued to look at the sky. After a long time, he sighed. "I already know about this. The barrier is getting thicker. If I don't act now, I may not have another chance in the future. She has failed, but at least she still has a trace of life. If I fail, Lord Shifter Emperor will never fail." The Shifter Emperor turned around. Strangely, there were 6 ripples in his eyes. It seemed like there was an endless abyss in them. "I can't wait any longer. Little fool, your talent is extraordinary. It won't take long for you to reach my level. If I win, you'll also have a chance. If you fail, don't try. Go to the human territory and hide. In the distant future, there may be a turning point." After saying this, the Shifter Emperor looked up at the sky again. This time, his eyes were filled with endless fighting spirit. It was as if he wanted to break through the sky. Swoosh! Leng Shiqi suddenly opened his eyes again. He was right. This time, he really had an inexplicable dream. Fortunately, he had a backup plan. He was about to ask Nine Leaf what happened when he sank into the dream. But Leng Shiqi saw that Nine Leaf was prostrating himself on the ground. He was still trembling all over. Chapter 862. In Leng Shiqi's impression, Nine Leaf had always been arrogant. Even when she had just transcended the tribulation, she would rather die than submit. Leng Shiqi was very surprised that Nine Leaf would lose her composure at this moment. At the same time, he realized that Nine Leaf must have discovered something. Nine Leaf. Leng Shiqi called out, but Nine Leaf didn't seem to hear him. The golden light behind his head shone brightly, and the warm power of his divine soul spread out and caressed Nine Leaf, gradually calming her emotions. Nine Leaf raised her head, and her demonic eyes were filled with horror. What did you see? Leng Shiqi couldn't help but ask. Nine Leaf's eyes instantly became complicated. After a long while, she said, "Just now, you were repairing your divine soul. Suddenly, all your life disappeared in an instant. I was shocked and thought you had been sneak attacked. When I was about to make a move, you..." Speaking of this, Nine Leaf stopped again, and there was deep fear in her eyes. Leng Shiqi guessed that some changes must have happened to his body, but what kind of changes could make Nine Leaf so afraid? He didn't rush to ask, but waited for Nine Leaf's emotions to calm down again. A terrifying and powerful aura suddenly appeared on your body. It was so powerful that I couldn't even breathe. It was so powerful that one look was enough to kill me thousands of times. What was even more terrifying was that the aura had a great suppression on my soul and bloodline. It felt like a god. Hiss. Hearing Nine Leaf's words, Leng Shiqi couldn't help but gasp. He himself didn't expect that he would have such a change just now. He suddenly thought of the Demon Emperor in the dream. The aura that Nine Leaf saw was very likely the Demon Emperor. Leng Shiqi immediately asked, "Have you ever heard of the name Demon Emperor?" Demon Emperor. Nine Leaf's voice suddenly rose, and then her eyes changed as if she thought of something. "Right, your aura just now was very similar to the legendary Demon Emperor. Then in your demon clan, what kind of cultivation is called the Demon Emperor?" "I just learned this after entering the far north wastelands." Nine Leaf's emotions stabilized, and she replied, "In the far north wastelands, 7th rank monsters are generally great monsters. Among them, great monsters with great strength and power can call themselves demon kings. Today, there are 9 great demon kings in the far north wastelands, and they occupy almost half of the far north wastelands. Stronger than the demon king was the demon venerable, whose cultivation was equivalent to the mystic comprehending state of the human race. They were all experts who had mastered the laws of heaven and earth." As Demon Emperor, Nine Leaf's tone turned serious. This made Leng Shiqi think of a possibility. The Demon Emperor was an existence above the mystic comprehending realm. Nine Leaf said, "Transcending heaven realm. Transcending heaven realm. 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 There was a realm be a realm be a realm 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 be a realm realm realm. I came into contact with a few demon kings in the far north wastelands and learned of this realm from a secret. It's a realm second only to sacred spirit experts. Unfortunately, be it demon emperors or heaven ascension realm experts, they haven't appeared in a long time. I wonder if there are any experts of such a level on the continent." "Heaven ascension realm?" Leng Shiqi muttered. Currently, there were only 7 known mystic comprehending realm experts in the falling star continent. Even with the reclusive experts, there were at most a dozen or so. There were probably no heaven ascension realm experts at a better realm. Otherwise, they would have been able to enter the falling star continent together. Then, who was the demon king he saw in his dream? What did it have to do with him? You have too many secrets. You have probably been targeted long ago. You should think about how to avoid this calamity, Nine Leaf advised with lingering fear. Leng Shiqi couldn't help but think of Ozu's prophecy again. This might be a calamity in his life. However, he didn't believe in fate. Furthermore, the Archean Aeon realm was right in front of him. He couldn't give up this opportunity. Regardless of whether he believed it or not, he had indeed been targeted. he still had to continue being on guard. He stroked his chin. It's all thanks to you protecting me that I know all this. There's one more thing I need to trouble you with. Help me inquire about two people, or rather, two powerful demons. Following that, he described the appearances of the two people he had encountered in his dream in detail. Nine Leaf nodded and said, the characteristics you mentioned are very obvious. If they are demons from the far northern wastelands, I believe you will be able to find out soon. I'll be leaving first. Be careful and don't cause trouble everywhere. If you really can't do it, hide in the underworld for a while. Don't force yourself. Ling Shiqi was slightly taken aback. It was truly unprecedented for Nine Leaf to warn him not to cause trouble. He smiled. Don't worry. I cherish my life more than anyone else. I won't die. Following that, Nine Leaf teleported back to the far northern wastelands. Ling Shiqi recalled the 7 ghost slaves and continued pondering. Until now, he had already experienced 3 dreams. Was someone trying to tell him something through this method? But the 3 dreams didn't seem to have any connection at all. One was a teenager, one was Ling Shiqi's previous life, and the other was a super strong demon emperor. There definitely wouldn't be any intersection between them. However, what the demon emperor said made Ling Shiqi feel strange. The demon emperor seemed to be preparing to do something extremely important. Someone had already done it before him, but the result was failure. If he also failed, he was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to keep his life. How terrible was it to be able to destroy the soul of a strong person like the demon emperor? Also, if it was really just a dream, it was impossible for Ling Shiqi's body to show such a powerful aura that made Nine Leaf want to prostrate himself in admiration. Therefore, it was definitely not a simple dream. In addition to the dream, the purpose of the person who secretly acted made Ling Shiqi even more puzzled. Since the other party could quietly do something, it was impossible to guard against it. If they wanted to harm him, they could have done it long ago. Obviously, the other party didn't want to directly kill Ling Shiqi, but had other purposes. Aside from his own side, Meng Tiantian's sudden appearance also had an ulterior motive. There were too many doubts in Ling Shiqi's mind that he couldn't solve, giving him a headache. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Instead of blindly thinking, it was better to recover the power of his soul as soon as possible. Then, he hoped to gain something in the Ashen Aeon realm to further improve his strength. As long as one had the strength, any schemes and tricks could be broken without being attacked. A few days later, the illusion array in the martial arena was finally repaired, and the final battle in the Heavenly Origin realm continued. Ling Shiqi didn't watch the battle. As long as he didn't show up, the other party seemed to have no way to target him. Before entering the Ashen Aeon realm, he didn't want to cause any more trouble. In one day, the battle ended. In the end, Xian Haoying and Fairy Luoying both defeated their opponents, which was within everyone's expectations. The most intense battle was naturally the battle between Duke Qi and Kong Jianba. In the end, Kong Jianba won by a slight margin. According to the old man's account after he returned, the two's combat strength was very similar. Kong Jianba's victory was due to his thick skin and flesh. In the end, the two didn't use their strongest trump cards. They could only determine the outcome from their injuries. Kong Jianba's abnormal physical strength gave him a huge advantage, so he won. At this point, the 5 people qualified to enter the Ashen Aeon realm had been determined. They were Ling Shiqi, Xian Haoying, Meng Tiantian, Fairy Luoying, and Kong Jianba. What was very interesting was that the Thunderblaze dynasty occupied 3 out of the 5, while the most powerful Starfall dynasty was completely empty. Chapter 863. Moreover, among the 3 people from the Thunderblaze dynasty, 2 of them were at the Unity of Heaven and Man realm. No one had expected such an outcome. It could be said that it was full of drama. In the Unity of Heaven realm competition, the Thunderblaze dynasty wasn't that great. Only one person from the Thunderblaze dynasty entered the top 5. As for those in the Gang Spirit realm, they had Delta Origi and Juga Puha. Ling Shiqi didn't look for Delta Origi during this time because he was being targeted. He didn't want to implicate her. He had observed Delta Origi's spiritual energy waves. Perhaps it was because they had gone through several battles, but the spirit crystals in Delta Origi's body had reached the limit. He believed that they would soon break through to the unity of heaven and man realm. Speaking of Zhuge Puha, Ling Shiqi suddenly remembered something. He had found the ruins of the Star Tribe in the demonic Miasma mountain range and obtained the Great Star Picking Hand. At that time, he had promised Zhuge Puha that he would go to the Zhuge family to release a few experts. However, it had been almost 2 years, and he still hadn't gone. Speaking of which, Ling Shiqi really forgot about this matter. Initially, he had planned to go to the Zhuge family after obtaining the 3 talents imperial art from the Bailu nation. Who would have thought that he would go into seclusion in order to comprehend the power of the 5 elements as soon as possible? After coming out of seclusion, he came to the Northern Wei Empire. At the same time, he also felt a little strange. Zhuge Puha was clearly here, and they frequently met each other, but Zhuge Puha did not come to look for him. However, he didn't know that it was precisely because he had forgotten about this matter that he had avoided a lot of trouble. The next day, Ling Shiqi and Xian Haoying were invited to the Northern Wei Empire's palace. Meng Tian, Fairy Luoying, and Kong Jianba were also present. When they saw the emperor of the Northern Wei Empire, Emperor Wei Xuandi, none of them bowed to him. Wei Xuandi's expression didn't change as he said with a smile, "Since the few of you are the strongest victors of the myriad spirit meet, my Northern Wei dynasty will keep our promise and allow you to enter the Archean Aeon realm." Their hearts stirred. Their ultimate goal in participating in the myriad spirit meet was the Ashen Aeon realm. If not for the Ashen Aeon realm, Ling Shiqi would not have participated. Wei Xuandi clapped his hands, and a large group of people in white robes walked in from both sides of the hall. Then, they took out a lot of things and started to arrange them. Teleportation array? Fairy Luoying could see that those people were setting up a teleportation array. Fairy Luoying, you have good eyes. Wei Xuandi said, "There's no need to elaborate on the importance of the Ashen Aeon realm. Therefore, I can't take you there directly. Instead, I need to use a teleportation array to teleport you to the entrance of the Ashen Aeon realm." Ling Shiqi understood that the Northern Wei dynasty was right. They could not let them know the exact location of the Tsangyuan realm. The group of white-robed men were all experts in array formations, and the teleportation array was quickly set up. This was a one-time use teleportation array, and it would self-destruct after it was used. Wei Xuandi reached out his hand and said, "Everyone, please go ahead. There will be someone to pick you up after you teleport." Xian Haoying gave Ling Shiqi a look. Among the 5 of them, the 2 of them could trust each other. No one knew what was in the Tsangyuan realm, so it was best to be careful. Ling Shiqi nodded imperceptibly and walked into the teleportation array. The scene in front of them spun, and in an instant, the 5 of them arrived in front of a huge stone door. There was a sword mark engraved on the stone door. It was clearly an inanimate object, but it emitted an extremely sharp sword intent, as though it could pierce through the heavens. It made Ling Shiqi and company tremble in fear. This must be the sword mark left behind by sword sage Tsang Yuan. Kong Jianba said in a deep voice. Sword sage Tsang Yuan was the last sacred spirit expert to appear in tens of thousands of years. He was a supreme expert who stood above the laws of heaven and earth. The sword mark he left behind made those at the peak of the heavenly origin realm fear him. Behind this stone door was very likely the legendary Ashen Aeon realm. A statue-like person sat in front of the stone door. If not for the fact that his eyes were open, everyone would have thought that he was a stone sculpture. Upon seeing this person, Ling Shiqi frowned inwardly. This person was clearly in front of him, but he could not sense him. From this, it could be seen that this person's cultivation level far exceeded his, or he was an ordinary person. However, since this person was at the entrance of the Ashen Aeon realm, he naturally could not be an ordinary person. At that moment, Fairy Luoying took 2 steps forward and bowed. "Greetings, Senior Chen Xian." Fairy Luoying did not even bow when she saw Emperor Wei Xuandi, but at that moment, she bowed to this strange person and even addressed him as senior. Only a mystic enlightening realm expert could make her act so humbly. Chen Xian was the strongest expert in the Northern Wei Empire. Leng Shiqi cupped his hands. Regardless of their standpoint, experts were worthy of respect. Furthermore, the current situation was very clear. Chen Xian was most likely the guardian of the Ashen Aeon realm. They naturally had to be polite if they wanted to enter. The Ashen Aeon realm is far from the blessed grotto heaven you imagine it to be. There are countless dangers inside. It's not too late to back out now, Chen Xian said slowly. His voice was as stiff as a statue's. No one who could come this far would give up. Kong Jianba said, danger is also an opportunity. If you want to avoid this danger, it will be impossible for you to go any further. In that case, go in. Whether you live or die will depend on your own fortune. After saying that, Chen Xian flicked his fingers, and 5 streams of light entered Leng Shiqi and company's bodies. Immediately after, the stone door opened a crack. A rich golden light shone and instantly sucked everyone in. The stone door closed, and 3 people appeared where the 5 people had been standing. They were Emperor Wei Xuandi, Situ Huanshu, and Duke Qi. The 3 of them were actually gathered together. Emperor Wei Xuandi bowed slightly to Chen Xian before speaking. Will they succeed? They originally had a chance, Duke Qi replied. If there were 5 people at the peak of the heavenly origin realm, there would indeed be hope. Unfortunately, they have entered the Heaven-Man Unity realm. It's hard to say. Since you knew this would happen, why did you give the spot to Meng Tian, Duke Qi? Situ Huanshu's tone was filled with dissatisfaction. Duke Qi's face sank as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Situ Huanshu's body immediately trembled. At that moment, he felt his heart palpitate. If they were to fight, he would probably be killed on the spot. Duke Qi sneered. Humph, what do you know? Meng Tian is very mysterious. Her true strength is much stronger than mine. It's a pity that Leng Shiqi's strength is comparable to the late stage of the heavenly origin realm, but he is still lacking. Senior Chen Xian, what do you think? Emperor Wei Xuandi asked Chen Xian. For tens of thousands of years, that passageway has been on the verge of collapse. Without knowing, those people will definitely attack with all their strength. There is about a 30% to 30% chance of success. 30% is still too low. Emperor Wei Xuandi frowned. Duke Qi said sternly, it's not impossible to fail this time. The Falling Cherry Spirit Domain's Domain Lord has disappeared in the Ashen Aeon world. That spiritual supremacy Falling Cherry will not sit still. When the time comes, we can lure her into the Ashen Aeon world. With her strength at the mystic enlightening realm, she will definitely be able to open the passageway completely. Emperor Wei Xuandi shook his head slightly. With Senior Chen Xian here, spiritual supremacy Falling Cherry will not come easily. Let's wait and see the results first. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.